talking sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive, this is Robbie and Rexroad. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
And welcome into the Tuesday edition of Robbie and Rexroad here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope everybody's doing well out there. A little stormy last night. Got woken up a few times. Joe Rexroad, what's going on? How we doing?
I'm fine. Did you see what happened to my chair?
No, did it just sink?
Yeah,
At least it
sunk
didn't break.
into the ground. Yeah, exactly. It's could be worse. Could be worse. So yeah, so the stuff was close to you last night, huh?
Yeah, it was. Got a nice blaring National Weather Service notification from my phone at like 12:49 a.m. and it was all out of there by 1 o'clock. So went back to sleep. Wasn't that bad.
So you got the notification, and 10 minutes later, it was all clear.
It was. I mean, by the time I got the notification in my area, it was pretty much gone. But I stayed up for an extra 10, 15 minutes to make sure that nothing else was coming.
Yeah.
And then went back to sleep.
Head on a swivel.
Back
to bed.
You know, living here my entire life, I've seen a few of these before.
Yes. Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah. So we don't know of any touchdowns or
I haven't seen anything.
Okay,
good.
good.
That doesn't mean it hadn't happened, but I hadn't seen anything.
Yeah.
So
we'd probably have an idea by now.
I would say so. Michelle, how are you? What's going on?
You know, living the dream. I can't even see Joe over the computer today.
Is that me or you?
I feel extra short.
Is that your chair or my chair?
I don't know, maybe a little mixture of both. But doing good, guys. I didn't buy coffee this morning, so we're trying to save a little money. I made some in the break room. So
Oh, wow.
It's a big advancement for the program.
Oh, you're not going to do the Uber Eats $23 coffee today?
Still very early in the show. She's got time.
Listen, but listen, we're trying to save money, but coffee is one thing that I will pay a price if I need it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I get it.
I know you do.
Got a big show today. We've got a lot to get to today here on the program. Robbie Weinstein from 24/7 Sports for Vandy will join us at 7:30. Gentry Estes from the Tennessean at 8 o'clock. Emily Proud from News 2 at 9. And Adam Vingan, fresh off vacation, Adam Vingan at 9:30 from The Athletic. So looking forward to that. Joe Vanderbilt's season comes to an end yesterday. They were fighting. It was a battle in Oregon State, but ultimately Oregon State was able to close the door on the Vandy boys yesterday, and they are out of the regional. So no super regional play for Vanderbilt, but some good fight from the Vandy boys yesterday. After you lose that first game, the path when you lose the first game is just so difficult to get through. And to their credit, they put themselves in a position yesterday where they had a chance, but Oregon State ultimately the better team, and they advanced to the super regional yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it really came down to Oregon State had their ace coming out, which you see a lot in these situations, especially you get to a Monday, couple days rest. But Connor Jerpy, and man, does he have electric stuff. I mean, he talk about in 2 innings how many half swings that he induced because they just couldn't pick up on what he was throwing. So that's the difference, is that they were able to lock it down for 2 innings. Vanderbilt, like I said, they battled. It was a heck of a run for them over the weekend after Friday. Score 50 runs. They lost 7-6, so 49 runs. Yeah, 49 runs in 4 games and almost get all the way to the super. Enrique Bradfield's out there making huge plays. Spencer Jones is the most outstanding player because he was just unbelievable. And really a lot of great pitching performances. Patrick Riley didn't have it yesterday, and that was the middle innings. They gave up the lead and kind of kept battling back, but fell a little bit short. So disappointing, certainly, relative to preseason expectations. Well, I think they're preseason number 2. Just didn't come together like they hoped. I think really, especially in the lineup, there were just some players who had tough seasons that kind of weren't expected. And so, next year they're probably preseason top 10, I think, for sure. I think they have the number 2 recruiting class. But you know how it is in baseball, a lot of it is draft decisions. They got some recruits with huge draft decisions. We'll talk to Robbie Weinstein about that later. And it's basically if a couple go their way, they could be super loaded next year. But they do need to find more offense.
Well, that's the thing. How do you feel as it sits here today? And like you said, there's some decisions that some guys are going to have to make. But about the lineup specifically, I mean, they found a little bit of a groove in regional play after the first game where they could settle in there. But, really inconsistent for the most part throughout the season, up and down. What do you think of the lineup as they head into next year? Because that's, to me, I mean, Tim Corbin's always going to be able to get some pitching, and he's going to recruit well. But can you hit on a more consistent basis in SEC play next year? That, to me, is going to be a big question.
Yeah, it's a big question. I don't know. Bradfield is the centerpiece. He's coming back as a junior, and he's going to be one of the best players in the country next year. But like Spencer Jones, I mean, he's going to be. I think he made himself, maybe a high pick, but I think there's a good chance he's a first-round pick. So, he ended up just being tremendous in that 3-hole. But yeah, they're going to find some guys for sure. But they also, that's the thing too with Vanderbilt is like, remember that there's a whole crop of young guys that just didn't play this year, and you just don't know how good they might be. I mean, it's hard to get into that lineup and that program, and people are used to, like, there's a usual thing, unless you're really special or there's a particular hole, you're going to sit for a year. So there could be 2-3 guys who didn't play this year who could be dynamite next year.
Yep.
We'll see. I mean, typically, just based on how he evaluates and recruits and develops, figure they're going to be awfully good. But yeah, I thought this team would be better and have a better outcome, and they just had some real ups and downs.
We have run across some Tennessee fans on the social medias who believe that, like, Tim Corbin's run at Vanderbilt is over with. Let's not even pump on the brakes. Let's get fully on the brake.
Yeah.
Let's just slam those things real quick.
Yeah, well, a lot of it goes to, like, the opportunity of Vanderbilt, the need-based aid, which certainly has helped Vanderbilt, but not just Vanderbilt. Like when they played Michigan, which is a public school, of course, for the championship, I mean, they have the same program at Michigan. And, like, the Mississippi schools have it now. So as one of my Vol Twitter friends sent me, like, an article about that from Glenn Gilbo, who covers LSU. Basically, the story was about how LSU doesn't have that. So there's more and more places have that. And with NIL, maybe there's more other programs can do, and that's all fine. But yeah, if Corbin wants to, as long as he wants to keep going and the way things have going, they're gonna be just fine. So yes, Vol Twitter, I would say, take your shots at Vandy. They lost. Have fun with them. Actually, there was some good trolling yesterday. Hey, that's how it goes, man.
Yeah,
that's why we love rivalries. Take your shots. Understand they're going to continue to be good, and then focus back on your team. But I did want to, now that you mention it, there's a really good John Reed. John Reed.
Oh, yeah.
Radio guy in Knoxville. I guess it's Fan Run Radio, right? Yeah.
Reed's Ranch. Yep.
Yeah, here we go. Credit to at Vandy Boys for playing the game the right way today. Many say losing with class is greater than winning the wrong way. Yes, John Reed. That's good trolling.
The Tennessee-Vanderbilt baseball rivalry is quickly becoming one of my favorites. I enjoy it very much.
It's good, yeah. It's gonna keep being good too.
Yeah, I believe that it is.
Maybe at some point, like Vitello and Corbin will get mad at each other.
Well, maybe so.
We'll
maybe
see.
Vitello will refer to Vanderbilt by its name at some point. Actually speak the name of the school. It's like Voldemort in Harry Potter. Nobody wants to say it.
The school that shall not be named.
Will in Kentucky on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Before the show today, Will was ready this morning. I'm ready to call Avs in 6, no matter who comes out of the East. The Colorado Avalanche finish off the sweep last night against Edmonton. They win 6-5 in overtime. Arturi Lehkonen, the game-winning goal last night, was very close to being a high stick, but he gets the rebound, puts it in, and Colorado finishes off the sweep last night. So they sweep the Predators. They sweep the Oilers in the conference final. They're 12-2 in the playoffs. That is the team with the fewest losses heading into the Cup final since the year 2000. So it's been a dominant run by Colorado. They finished the job off last night, and look, I'm operating under my theory of I'll pick Tampa Bay to lose when they actually lose. Colorado looks pretty darn good right now, I will say. Yeah,
they do. I mean, Mike Smith gives up 5 goals in a period. Whew. I mean, that was the game. I was very much enjoying that game. I was impressed with Edmonton. Impressed with Draisaitl skating around, looking like I would probably look on skates.
Yeah.
Like just an old, like I'm
interested to figure out what is all wrong with him, because it's got to be more than one thing.
Like his back probably or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what it looked like. But then all of a sudden he's skating around making plays. It's 3-1, go to bed. Okay, so this series will probably be 3-1 and go back to Colorado, wake up, and apparently, wow, missed a whole bunch of hockey. My goodness. And then, of course, the Oilers tie it back up to send it to overtime. But they were no match, and you may be right there. You may be right that Colorado is just destined to win it. This is now where I start now having PTSD about Avs fans. I mean, again, I don't know how other people feel, but if you're like a fan who hates a certain team, to me it's the people on it. Like, if I have to see like Claude Lemieux or Patty Roy getting excited about this in the stands or something, then that will trigger me, right? But I like the players on the team, like the Celtics. I like the players on the team, but then at some point you're like, okay, but I don't want their fans to be happy.
Right.
Don't want Celtics fans to be happy. Don't want Avs fans to be happy. So now that's where I am on this.
It's
go Rangers / Lightning.
So yeah, big Eastern Conference fans. I think Predators fans probably feel the same way. It's just man, they're good. I mean, they handled. Yeah. I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl did their thing. Like McDavid had a shot last night that was just. I mean, it's the size of a coffee cup. He put it in. He just drilled it. So I mean, they did their thing out there.
Incredible pass by Draisaitl too.
It was, but they were limited just about as much for the most part as you can limit those guys. That was to me probably the thing that stands out the most is like you have your backup goalie in there if you're Colorado, and defensively you held down the Oilers pretty well for the most part. Yeah,
and even like in the first period especially, they could have easily been like 3-4-0 Avs too. So they come at you with force. So they're going to be tough to beat for sure. But Tampa Bay still has to lose, and also the Rangers are kind of that special team this year.
Regardless of who it is coming out of the East, the goalie's going to give them a chance, whether it's Vasilevsky or Shesterkin. Like the goalie, there's going to be a bit of I think a culture shock's not the right term, but just a bit of an eye-opening if you're the Avalanche going from Mike Smith to whoever this next goalie is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I shot one from the blue line and it didn't go in. Okay. What do we do about that?
Yeah, I mean, Edmonton's just they gotta do something different, don't they?
I mean, Mike Smith's 40 years old, so
I guess that's
you gotta go find
saying.
A goalie.
Yeah.
Like you gotta go find a goalie this offseason. I don't know who it is, but you can go find one.
What would they give up for Saros?
McDavid?
McDavid, yeah.
I'll tell you this. I would make that trade if I was the Predators.
I think so.
Do we need to clarify that we're not being serious? That's not going to happen, or do we think people understand that?
Whatever. I think people can believe whatever they want to believe.
We'll get to something on that coming up at 7:45 here on the program. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We're off and running here today on Robbie and Rexroad, taking your thoughts all show long. Coming up next, we'll get into the Titans. 3 questions heading into minicamp, which is right around the corner for the Titans. We'll get to those coming up next. You're listening to Robbie and Rexroad here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
The hottest financing offer is back at Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest financing with nothing down on practically everything in the showroom. That $3,000 Eternity Band is just $50 a month. Buy now, put nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. Available till June 18th only. Get that $6,000 designer ring and pay just $100 a month. We'll even finance the sales tax. Fine jewelry has never been more affordable at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
That's why I'm nervous right now. Because somebody tweeted me and was like, he hasn't even played a preseason game yet. Traylon Burks shouldn't play a preseason game. The 2 preseason games that you have to start, I believe, no, I think it's the last 2. So maybe you could play in the first one. But again, they're not going to play the starters in any of these preseason games. There's no reason to. They have 2 scrimmages. So what they're going to do is they're going to scrimmage against the Cardinals and the Buccaneers, and they will not play the starters. And Burks has to start. So if we wait until the preseason to get worried, I mean, then what are you going to do? You're going to go trade for a wide receiver at that point, teach them an offense they don't know? You're going to pick up you're going to put Josh Malone in at wide receiver to start against the New York Giants? You're going to put Nick Westbrook-Akina out there? That's what happens if they don't get this figured out now. That's why it has to get figured out now. Now, I would say this. It sounds like if he really is out of shape, they probably are on him about it. That's probably true. And then they probably are trying to tell him, hey, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. That's probably true. But we don't know that because nobody's talking about it, because all of a sudden this is some huge state secret, and it's only a huge state secret because why? They don't want you to know anything. Mm-hmm. It isn't that if he was in shape, they'd tell you, boy, Dylan Radins, he's in the best shape. He's physical this year. He's ready to go. We'll talk about Dylan Radins' shape all day. We have no idea if the guy can play a lick of football, and they won't tell us what position he is. But, I mean, he's ready to go. But when it comes up to, talking about Traylon Burks' condition, it's like, how dare you violate my constitutional rights by asking me about Traylon Burks' conditioning? How dare you?
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Listen to Stillman and Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rex Road, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. James on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, I just got in the car. Did I hear you say sorrows for McDavid? Holy cow, is this happening? With a nice sunglasses smiling emoji face that he attaches to it. Well done, James.
Yes. Holy cow. Hey, I don't know. The Oilers need a goalie. Keep an open mind.
Make them say no.
That's right. What if they wanted a Skarov?
For McDavid?
Duncan Keith?
If you can name any player that
bring
you
back
want.
Duncan Keith for that.
Can't wait for off-season trade rumors. It's going to be great.
Yes.
But matter of fact, I will say, Elliot Friedman went on the DDC last week and said he thinks this offseason, based on what he's heard, is going to be pretty nuts in the NHL from player movement. Like guys that you don't think are going to be on the move are on the move. Now, I don't think he's referring to Connor McDavid when he's talking about this, but I am interested to see how that goes coming up this offseason.
That'd be fun.
We're all about fun.
Some of these other, the NFL's figured out how to just have absolutely off the chain, as the kids used to say, off seasons. You don't remember off the chain? When was off the chain? Sometime in like the, I don't know, early 2000s maybe?
Probably like
something like that.
05.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The NFL, NBA is, those two have off seasons. So get with the program, hockey.
That's right. We'll see what happens on that front. Joe, today the last open OTA day coming over at St. Thomas Sports Park with the Titans, and then minicamp right around the corner. How do you view the Titans as they sit here heading into minicamp, and what are some questions, some storylines that you have for the Titans as minicamp approaches this offseason?
Well, minicamp, will be, minicamp's better as far as information, and watchability, because you got everybody or just about everybody there. But this week, last week of OTAs, the number one thing It's Traylon Burks to me. It's Traylon Burks. Is he progressing? He actually, although the focus was on what's wrong with you last week because it was his first time talking. No, he made progress. He's been making progress from week 1 of rookie minicamp to last week. So does he continue to make progress? Is he making more plays out there? I mean, he's number 16 is just such an important player right away. So that's the offensive line is who's where, whether like Vrabel said. Camp is when you do a lot of stuff, but still, are they still moving people? Is it a little bit more settled or set? Things like that. How are guys looking? And you can still see people move and do their pass, pass sets and all that stuff. So you can still see some stuff. And then I'd say the DBs. Are we? I don't know. The timeline, of course. We're not getting timelines. Never will get timelines while Vrabel's coach. But anything different with Farley, more with Farley. Anybody else back, too? That's another thing this week. Is there anybody new to the mix? I would imagine most of the key guys who are established starters who haven't been here, I would just expect they wouldn't be here again, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see on that front. I'm interested, and maybe not even this week or anything like that, but as training camp gets closer, like the balance of coming off the ACL injury but also getting reps with Caleb Farley, like what does that look like? Like, Robert Woods, I know it's a new team and a new offense. It is a similar offense to what they had in L.A. Like, I think you feel good if you're Vrabel about, like, Robert Woods – doesn't need a whole lot of work in the preseason. Like, he's going to be ready to go. He just needs to be healthy. Caleb Farley, like, if I'm Vrabel, I want him getting every rep possible. And he did get hurt last year before Woods did. So I don't know what his recovery process is like and how what that schedule looks like. But I am interested to see in the preseason, in training camp, how they handle the balance of getting Farley healthy and ready to go, but also getting him the reps that I think most people would agree that he needs.
Yeah, no, it's I feel like Vrabel, based on his history, very much will err on the side of just don't get someone hurt again, especially when they have an injury history. But how do you feel good about him being a starting corner if there isn't a certain amount of work? And that's one of those positions. Obviously, you can still do a lot without having too much contact. So, I mean, he's going to be a huge player to follow here. And I mean, all the indications are good. And the thing is, when they're volunteered, that means more to me than if it's like, how's he doing? Great. Right. When someone volunteers like Vrabel did that one day, that he is actually really impressing and making strides mentally and stuff. I mean, it says something to me. I mean, sometimes the coach does actually trying to give a player confidence, something like that, but I don't think that's what that was. I mean, so it sounds like, Farley's coming along, but it still comes down to, is that body going to stay together, and can he actually put it all together and be a good player at the highest level at a position that he just hasn't played a ton and hasn't really played in a long time for an extended period.
It really is amazing. Like, as they head into minicamp, like there's a lot of storylines with this team. There really is. I mean, it's obviously with the way the season ended last year, that was going to be the case anyway with the quarterback. So that kind of goes without saying that Tannehill's going to be a storyline all year long. But when you factor in Farley and Radens and Burks and, Hooper, all these different situations that they have, like there's a lot with this Titans team heading into camp that, I didn't even mention Malik Willis there as well. I mean, there's a whole lot going on with this team that's really intriguing heading into the minicamp / training camp portion of this. So good for us. I enjoy a lot of storylines.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, look, Malik Willis is going to save the preseason because 3 games now, so game 3 is, just put some people in who are in uniform on the field, and
let's get through
you probably have your cuts all figured out anyway. I mean, maybe you're looking at a few things that you're not sure of at the bottom of the roster. So you have 2 preseason games other than that, and Vrabel, not alone in this, but increasingly, it's just, why are you going to risk anybody? But Malik Willis, I believe, is going to get tons of work this preseason and play in those games, and you're going to get a little bit. I think those matter. I really do. I mean, I understand that it's not the same as a regular season game where there's like heavy game planning and all these things, but you're still talking about another team trying to tackle you, trying to do you harm, real corners, covering your receivers, checks at the line, all that stuff. Like it's going to be actually, I think, telling not just to the outside world, but to the coaching staff about Malik Willis. So we get this one preseason schedule where things will be interesting.
So another storyline to keep in mind is the Jeffrey Simmons situation. Now, obviously, he is eligible for a contract next year. They've picked up his option. Aaron Donald gets basically a $40 million raise yesterday over the last 3 years of his contract. So the rework deal brings the total value of his contract to $95 million over 3 years. So that's a lot of money for Aaron Donald. He was talking about retiring, which I don't think anybody really ever believed, but that was a negotiating tactic, and
good
it
leverage.
Worked for Aaron Donald. He is going to get paid a lot of money, and he should get paid a lot of money over the next few years. What do you think this does for Jeffrey Simmons? Obviously, he's not Aaron Donald. He's pretty darn good last year.
Yeah, it's a good question. I suppose you could look at it like, hey, this guy plays D tackle. Look at this deal. $40 million bump, $95 million. It's funny because, of course, this lowers their cap hit this year.
It does.
From $26.75 to $24 million. So you naturally think of Jeffrey Simmons, but at the same time, I don't know that it affects him that much. I mean, Aaron Donald is just a totally different thing. Aaron Donald is like, this is maybe the best football player in the league, regardless of position, and just won a Super Bowl, and he's just like, he's got his own wing in the Hall of Fame already.
Yep.
And Jeffrey Simmons might be the next guy, but there's a gap.
Oh, yeah.
Again, you could say there's a gap between Aaron Donald and like every other football player in the league, really. So I guess it probably, I guess you could say it raises the market, but sometimes when you have like a player who's on an island like that, is it all of a sudden Jeffrey Simmons is just getting this huge bump because of this? I don't know. I'm not sure they're as linked together as some people want to think.
They may not be. I saw that it's not a bad thing for Jeffrey Simmons. I know that. I saw that contract yesterday, and I was like, well, maybe Jeffrey Simmons gets a few more $1 million out of this. I don't know.
If I'm Jeffrey Simmons' agent, I'm busting out the tape of the Rams Titans game. And I said, now which D tackle in this game is the best one in the game?
That's right.
Watch 98 in this game. So no, it's not a bad thing for him. He's going to get paid a lot, but this is, this is like the D tackle market didn't just completely change. It's just the Aaron Donald market.
Which, hey, good for him.
Yeah, I'd pay him that much.
I would pay him that much, too. We'll continue the conversation on the Titans. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, a little Joe Rexrode version of Titans Buy or Sell. Looking forward to that. This is Robbie and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Want the latest on the Predators from the people that cover them?
Heck of a year so far for the Predators. They've been so much fun to watch.
Join Robbie Stanley for Preds Insiders every Monday at 6.
I feel probably as good about this group of 6 on D.
Presented by Dr. Kelly Rice on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's Dell Technologies' biggest business sale of the year with Black Friday early access deals on Windows 11 PCs. Call 877-ASK-DELL. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business.
The Electronic Express Father's Day sale is here. Huge deals on Father's Day gifts from brands like Traeger Grills, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Outdoor living, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make Father's Day happen.
Spring is in the air, and that means all kinds of fun in the sun is just around the corner. But if you're feeling low energy, if you've put on weight and just aren't getting the gains from your workouts, if you aren't sleeping well and your libido isn't what it used to be, maybe you aren't looking forward so much to sunny days and shirtless weather. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if this sounds like you, we might very well have the answer, because you may very well be suffering from low testosterone. And that, my friend, is something that can be effectively treated to get you back to the guy you used to be. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has treated thousands of men for low T. Our treatment programs are highly effective, with most men seeing results in just a few weeks. Assuming you're like most guys, you'll sleep better, have better workouts, have higher energy, and your sex life might just improve as well. So give us a call. Just $99 gets you a PSA and T test and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. Or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
It is the TD Power Hour to Ron Davenport.
But in all honesty, I don't think they need to go out and sign a receiver. And I think when you look at that 23% target share that's there, Austin Hooper, in my opinion, should garner a lot of that. He should get a lot of that, because when you look at what he was able to do in the past, you look at when he was in Atlanta, you know, he worked that middle of the field. He worked the seam. He worked the post and did a lot of that stuff. I think that's where Tannehill is going to go. And just in watching practice, you saw it yesterday, Caroline, there's a lot of communication between Tannehill and Hooper after almost every play.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. John on the text line says Jeffrey Simmons needs more accolades first. They get plenty of money.
Yeah, I mean,
it's gonna be pretty difficult to get the Aaron Donald.
Right?
Accolades.
Yeah, he's not going. Yeah,
Aaron Donald should probably have more accolades than he does, to be honest with you.
Right. Jeffrey Simmons, no one is Aaron Donald. No one is Aaron Donald. Jeffrey Simmons, he's a great player.
There was a GM last year,
and he should get paid,
that said Jeffrey Simmons was the closest thing to Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
And he kind of played like it last year.
I mean, I'm buying on that.
Yep.
I'm buying on that for sure.
So speaking of that, a Titans buy or sell edition from Joe Rexroad coming up in this segment. As always, we'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Joe, I turn it over to you.
You both taking part in this? You taking part in this? What do you have over there? Oh, okay.
A water bottle?
I thought you were giving yourself oxygen when I saw the thing up like this. Like, is Michelle okay?
Michelle in the middle of it, P90X in there? Yeah.
Yeah, I just pulled my oxygen taken, This show takes a lot out of me.
Well,
yeah,
there's that.
It is also 97 degrees.
A lot of hot air in here.
Yeah. All right. So buy or sell. Austin Hooper will have the most productive tight end season for the Titans since Delaney Walker was roaming the field here.
I'm going to buy that. And productive means I'm talking catches and yards and touchdowns. Because Jonnu Smith, I think, was really good here. His stats never really blew you off the page. I think Austin Hooper, especially with A.J. Brown gone, those targets have to go somewhere. And they're not all going to Robert Woods, and I don't think they're all going to Traylon Burks either. I think a lot of them are going to go to Austin Hooper. So I will say, obviously we can't foresee health-wise what happens here, but I'm going to buy. I think Austin Hooper will have the most productive season for a tight end in this offense since Delaney Walker. That's no disrespect to Jonnu Smith, who I know you love, but I'm going to buy.
He was a heck of a player.
He was.
I'm going to also buy on this one. I think, if they want some offensive production, he's going to need to have a season like that, especially with just the question marks on Robert Woods and Treylon Burks. And we all know that Ryan Tannehill loves a tight end. Some closer, more safe throws is what Titans fans want to see from Ryan Tannehill. So, yeah, I think definitely buying that.
Work the middle of the field.
That's right. Yeah, I'm going to buy 2. I think the big number is 8. So Jonnu, his last season, his best season, 41 for 448, which, yeah, like I said, those numbers to me don't reflect what he was, but that's what he did. And he had 8 touchdowns, though.
And a lot of those came early, too. Like, he was rolling early.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Early in the season, he was, yeah. So, well, I'm trying to think what happened. Oh, that's when Lewan got hurt. That's right. Lewan got hurt, kind of changed his role. So he probably would have had a bigger season if not for that. But 8 touchdowns, that's the big thing. Can Austin Hooper match or exceed that? That would be big for the Titans. Okay, buy or sell. Theo Jackson will fill the Dane Cruikshank role and be the Titans' 3rd safety this year.
I'm going to buy. Now, can he fill it as well as Dane Cruikshank grew into last year? I think that remains to be seen. But I buy that he will be in that role. Look, I really like Theo Jackson. I thought he played well last year for Tennessee. I thought for the most part he was their best player on defense. So I think this is a selection, if you're the Titans, where you've got a chance to look back on a 6th-round pick and say, okay, this was a pretty good find for John Robinson and his staff. And we've talked about you feel really good about your safety depth there, or your starting safety duo with Byard and Hooker, obviously, but they've been looking for some depth there. Cruikshank walks. I think Theo Jackson will be the guy there, so I will buy that Theo Jackson is that player.
My computer just died. Sorry.
Thank you.
But this is what's great about being here. You can still hear me.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Are we talking in regular speed today, by the way?
On the app, I think so.
Let's hope. I probably should check that in a minute. I'm going to buy as well. Not as confident with it, but yeah, I think he could be a good 3rd option. I mean, I think at this point you're going to need somebody. I don't really know, actually. I'm going to buy it.
My big question, though, is like if you're Theo Jackson, can you – I mean, they basically used Cruikshank last year as like this shutdown tight end guy. Like it was amazing when Travis Kelce came in here, like how good of a job Dane Cruikshank did on the tight end. Like I don't know if Theo Jackson's going to be able to do that this year. So I don't know. It's not like you're replacing Darrelle Revis out there or anything, but I am interested to see how they use Theo Jackson and if he can be as productive and as effective as Cruikshank was toward the end of last year in that role. They really found something for Cruikshank last year in that role.
They did. Well, and remember, Cruikshank, just his big problem was staying healthy, right?
Yep.
But he was a very good special teams player. And then it came together for him. And I thought maybe that they would be like, hey, you got to hold on to this guy. I'm going to buy, but it's a soft buy. I mean, the reason I think he's going to be the 3rd safety. I mean, I feel like we talk about offensive line and receiver all the time in terms of free agents, but who else
is
in
the
safety group do they feel good about?
Yeah,
I mean, you got Rodney Clemens in there right now, and Griffin. You could go Chris Jackson back there. You could, in theory, go Elijah Molden back there. I don't think that's in the cards for him, but. That's also a position where you could see, and you remember, what was it, last year they picked up a couple of safeties along the way in camp. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that, but at this point, I'd give him the inside track. Yeah, he's about 10 pounds lighter, 10, 11 pounds lighter than Dane Cruikshank in official listings. So is he ready for that kind of role, that kind of physicality? I don't know, but I'm with you. I mean, I just thought he was really good with the Vols, consistently an excellent football player, and he's had some rookie moments out here, but he's also had some good moments, and that's what it's supposed to be right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Buy or sell. Derrick Henry has 3,300 more rushing yards left in him. That would push him past 10,000, and to me, increase the possibility that he could be a Hall of Famer.
3,300 more yards. You're talking career.
Yeah.
Oh, I buy.
Okay.
I still look. I think Derrick Henry is going to have a good year this year. Now, is he going to have 2,000? No, probably not. But I think Derrick Henry very well could have 1,500 yards this year. So at that point, you're talking another 1,800 for his career after that. I'm buying.
Okay.
You will not find a pessimistic take on Derrick Henry from me today. I'm fully believing in Derrick Henry.
You and Beauclair may be at opposite ends of the spectrum.
I'm the anti-Beauclair.
Now, there may be someone more anti.
Could be.
I don't know, but that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, I'm buying as well. I think that Henry's got definitely a bit left in his tank. A couple more years in the league. I think that he could get 1,500 yards this year, and then he's already almost halfway there. And then if he falls off a tad, I think that's definitely applicable.
What's the other thing? Like a fall off for Derrick Henry? You have to fall really far to not still be decently productive in today's NFL.
Well, you do, but the thing is, so 2 years from now, I don't think he'll be there 2 years from now. I mean, I think if he's healthy and all that stuff, of course. If he plays out his contract, I don't think he's going to get there in the next 2 years. But then then you're 30, and it does at that position in this league, it ends quick. Now, look, I think he could end up being in the end more in the Frank Gore, not totally to that extent, but like more that type of guy, Adrian Peterson. Then I think we're already seeing that possibility. I'm going to buy too. We're just buying everything, so these are bad questions. But I do it with some hesitation because I think it may be a slog to get there after these 2 years. And I just, again, 30. As a running back, that's like in regular person terms, that's 84, I mean, it's now, again, I think he's different.
Dog years, running back years.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. But I thought really hard about that one. I was close to selling, but I agree. I mean, I think he's going to get there.
We'll continue Titans buy or sell coming up next. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 1025, 1063, The Game.
Every Wednesday at 5, join us for Jared versus Joe as they debate all of the big topics in sports, presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Mayweather Boxing and Fitness on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Hitting a lull this morning in terms of storms, but we'll see them pick back up again in coverage and intensity this afternoon and evening.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Tune in to ESPN 1025 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman & Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations: Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
For the love of the climb. For the love of the fall. For the love of knowing your kids' laughter is the sweetest music there is. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 1025 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Darren McFarland.
That's the most personality I think I've heard.
Willie Daunic.
Give me credit. I said it.
Chase McCabe.
I still talk to people outside of this building.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 1025, 1063 The Game. Titans buy or sell, Joe Rexrode's edition taking place right now here on the program. We're taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, would you like to continue? Titans buy or sell?
Yeah, hopefully somebody will sell something. Just buying all this up. Buy.
You're a good salesman.
I guess. But this is like Vegas. You're supposed to set the line so you get betting on both sides. Failing at that. All right, buy or sell. Caleb Farley will start double-digit games this season.
Hard sell.
Hard sell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, we talked about this when he got drafted. You had so many injury concerns heading into the draft. He hasn't played that position that much either. Like I think there's a very real scenario where you're starting three at corner for a significant amount of time this year is Molden in the slot, Fulton on the outside, and McCreary on the outside too. Like I think that could happen at some point. So between that and injury concerns I have with Caleb Farley, I will sell. So there you go. You got me to sell.
Okay, there's a sell. Got to sell.
I'm selling as well. I mean, they drafted McCreary, right? Caleb Farley, we've seen his history with injuries, and even if I could see him playing maybe 7 games, but I think double digits is hard, especially with his history.
So you're just projecting you got him just hurt for 10 games? You're saying playing 7 games?
Yeah. I could see him on the field for 7.
Okay.
I really don't see him getting to that 10 mark.
Of even playing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I asked about starting. Well,
you said starting.
Yeah, so I guess that's a real hard sell then. Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at it a little differently than you guys. I'm also going to sell, but I'm close on this. I think McCreary shows promise. I think it's possible. And Buster Screen, I think, probably gets some starts this year. That's just my guess. But I think there's a chance here. I mean, I think Caleb Farley is going to get every chance to be that guy, and I still feel that he has the tools to be a good starting cornerback in the NFL. I just obviously the health thing is the biggest question. I think if you told me right now he's going to get past this stuff and he's going to be available all season, then I would buy this because I think he'll end up being the best option. I think he's that talented, but I will sell based on it's hard to just assume pure health for someone who's had so many different things. I think it's going to be close, though. I do. And I think he's going to start several games, and he's a big part of the story this year. If it breaks the right way, and now McCreary can be a nice young rookie 4 for you, that's a heck of a defense.
That's best case scenario for the Titans for sure.
Yeah. Okay, buy or sell. Dylan Radins will start double-digit games this season.
Man, this one's tough. Because if he doesn't, what's the plan? I will say I'm going to sell.
Okay.
I will sell that he starts double-digit games. I think he'll start some, but I will say at some point, Petit Frere is the starting right tackle. DeMarco Jones is at left guard. So the Raidens will be rotational. So I will say I'll sell, but it's close.
I'm going to risk it for the biscuit for Dylan Raidens. I'm going to buy it.
Wow.
I think he starts double-digit games for the Titans this year, but like Robbie said, best case scenario, I mean, we're not really sure what that right tackle position is going to look like. Petit Frere maybe a couple games in there, but I think he gets to the double-digit mark.
This one was close for me too. I'm going to sell with basically the same idea that I think at some point Petit Frere takes over the job. It's hard for me to project Petit Frere being the starting right tackle from the start. Now, I don't know how comfortable I am with Dylan Raidens being the starting right tackle from the start either, but that's my guess. I'm going to stick with that guess that, against the Giants opening day, Dylan Raidens is the Titans starting right tackle. I think at some point he'll probably get overtaken.
Could he be the starting left guard after that?
Well, he
that
could be.
Still starts.
And and that's the thing. You also have in any of this, I mean, if you're just projecting someone starting double-digit games, you can always factor in injuries and stuff like that too. So it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world if Dylan Raidens had starts at two different positions this year. But I think double digits is asking a little bit much based on what we know. Like to me, Farley, I still feel like in terms of talent, ability, potential to be a really good player, I think that's there. Raidens, I have my questions about. I mean, a lot's going to be answered during camp, but at this point, I wouldn't say what we've seen this spring is necessarily inspiring on that front.
I think it's close. I think it's going to be real close.
Okay. Buy or sell. Harold Landry will play out his entire contract with the Titans.
His entire contract with the Titans. I'll buy that. He's been really durable. I think he can be productive enough to justify the money that he's being paid. The other part of this is cap's going to be going up, and I think the money at that position is going to go up significantly as well. So I will buy it. Do I think that he's going to be as productive towards the end of it? No, I don't. But I think he'll be productive enough, and more than anything, I think he'll be available enough because he has been so far in his career that he'll play out the contract. So I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to buy that Harold Landry finishes it off.
Well, he's only 26, so he's in he's in that athletic prime still.
Well, actually he's not there yet.
Didn't even get there yet.
28?
Oh, yeah.
28 to 32.
Oh, wow, I got years, so I will be making the WNBA.
I mean, in the NFL, it's like what's your prime in the NFL is probably younger.
Yeah.
And again, if you're a running back, your prime is from age 21 to 22, and then you're over the hill at 20.
Then you're 85.
Right, yeah.
He's still got five years left. I think he plays it out. I think he definitely has, some drop-offs from last year's contract year to this year, but I think he stays with Tennessee for the next 5 years to finish out the contract.
So he is the only player, Landry's the only player right now who is on the books for 2026. Byard is too, but that's just like that extra year because they redid his deal, right? Yep. So, so Byard's cap hit is like nothing that year. But Landry, he's due to make 21.3 in 2026 as a 30-year-old. So it's close.
It's real close.
It is close, and you see often that these deals don't see the finish line. But I'm also going to buy, and I think you hit on something that to me it's like that cap number, again, if he continues to be a very good player and an all-around good, durable player, and the durability with him is to me the biggest buy thing on here because he's just able to answer the bell weekly, and he's had a nagging injury here or there. To me, that cap number actually will be not bad at all. I mean, it's for that level of player, who I think he can still be that at age 30, that cap hit will not be that'll be. I don't know if it's a bargain for a 30-year-old, but it'll be
manageable.
Yeah, acceptable. So yeah, but that one's pretty close too. So we're buying everything except for like these 2 second-year players are going to help at all in 2022.
Well, it's difficult for me to get there.
Yeah.
Like it is. I mean, I think both Dylan Radins and Caleb Farley, to me, have reached the point where, all right, well, I got to see it. Like, I think you get some benefit of the doubt when you're a rookie coming in, but we talked about it. The medicals with Caleb Farley, he gets hurt. I mean, he's basically learning the position still anyway at that point. And then with Radins, I think you've hit on something that really concerns me. I think sometimes skill position-wise, you can make that transition from lower-level college football to the NFL, and maybe you have a better idea of what that's going to look like if you're the evaluators out there. On the line of scrimmage, I think that can be really tough because I think he was really good on the line of scrimmage at that level of college football. And the fact of the matter is that level is just not the same as it is in the SEC and the Big Ten and Pac-12, all these other levels. So I think it's easier to take a risk on somebody like that and miss than it is at the skill position. And I think my fear is if you're the Titans that they just missed with Dylan Radins.
Yeah, I remember. I think when Radins, who knows? It was some. I have like this whole list in mind of all these small college players who have been great in the NFL. I mean, there's a whole bunch of guys in Canton who played at small schools.
Sure.
So I hate the automatic, just like didn't play in the SEC, didn't play in the Big Ten. At the same time, it's helpful. It's helpful to see Roger McCreary, run with the receivers he ran with, and certainly in the trenches where there's no better league at all. But even just Power 5 in general, it's helpful to see a guy like this go against the best. So you may be right. That may be part of it may be one of those things that influences how John Robinson and his staff look at things if it breaks that way.
I mean, we talked about best case scenario for the cornerback position for the offensive line. I mean, worst case scenario for the offensive line is Radins isn't ready, Petit Frere isn't ready, and you got to figure out who in the world is going to play right tackle there. Like you moving Jamarco Jones over there. I mean, I guess that's what you'd have to do.
That's your next
at that
option.
point. But
and then Aaron Brewer.
How do you feel about your starting offensive line of Lawan, Brewer, Jones, Davis, and then Jamarco Jones at right tackle? Probably not great.
Yeah, no, because that I think means that basically means the other two tackles failed. So how good could Jamarco Jones be there? But at least there are some options. There is some flexibility. Yep. But yeah, that's not a great worst case scenario.
Very good edition of Titans Buy or Sell by Joe Rexrode.
Hey,
nicely done.
Fun. That's the first time I've tried it.
Hey,
it always seems like you have fun doing it. So
you're a rock star, Rexrode.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun little exercise.
Coming up next, we'll get into some Vols football, including a story that Joe Rexrode has been working tirelessly on. We'll get to that coming up on the other side. You're listening to Robbie and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee! 3-ball, yes, sir!
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Tough jobs need tough equipment. For equipment that gets the job done right, elite certified service, and genuine Kubota parts, choose Coleman Tractor Company, Tennessee's largest full-line Kubota dealer. Get hay season done right with the Kubota M7 tractor. User-friendly controls, all-day comfort, powerful versatility. Lease the Kubota M7 for as low as $13,200 annually, now through June 13th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more information. Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and the NBA Finals are here, and so is your chance to score big on FanDuel Sportsbook. Throughout the NBA Finals, FanDuel is giving new customers $200 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You can bet the money line, point spreads, player props, and so much more. Plus, you could combine your bets for an even bigger payday with the same game parlay. I still like the Celtics in this series to win against Golden State. I like Jason Tatum as well over on points, but you take it any way you want to take it. Just make sure you sign up with promo code ROB. If you haven't tried FanDuel now, it's the perfect time to give it a shot because the only thing sweeter than watching the finals is cashing in on all the action. So join today with promo code ROB and turn a $5 bet into $200 in free bets, win or lose. Make every game feel like Game 7 with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
If you missed the latest from Darren, Daunic, and Chase.
Let's wrap it up with this. Do you think the Colts or the Titans are the favorite for the AFC South?
Colts.
Seems to be the new trend.
Mm-hmm.
So you believe in Matt Ryan?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I think I like Frank Reich. They have a really good running game. They have a good offensive line, and they got a couple playmakers on defense. And if I put Matty Ice in the dome with them, he's probably going to be a little bit better at his age than he would have been if he's going to be playing in the elements. But I do like them. I know what I'm getting with them, I think, a little bit more than I know what I'm getting with the Titans. Tannehill is underrated. How much can I load up with Derrick Henry? Like, how long can I I've seen these running backs. It could be Christian Okoye. It could be, run down the list of these guys who just take on punishment. They give punishment, but eventually, you have a shelf life there. And as great as he's been, at some point, you can't go to him as much as you once did. And then who are you? And do you have those weapons where Ryan can be a better player than maybe what he really is because he's got the weapons around him? And I thought you guys were my dark horse Super Bowl pick this past year. Yep. Thought Kansas City was going to play for the Super Bowl. And I thought that the Titans, I really went back and forth at the beginning of the year. Thought the Titans were going to be a team that was going to play for the Super Bowl. Thought that much of them. That's changed, though.
It has.
Tune in Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Weekdays 10 to 2 on Nashville's Best Sports Talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road to DDC.
Still in company. Nashville's Best Sports Talk,
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robbie and Rex Road. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad on Nashville's Best Sports Talk,
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Welcome back in, hour number 2 of Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rex Road, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We'll have Robbie Weinstein from 24/7 Sports coming up at 7:30. Get his thoughts on the Vandy boys as their season comes to a close yesterday. Gentry Estes at 8 o'clock from the Tennessean as well. Joe Rexroad, you've been working on a story for Tennessee football for a while here now, and it has now come out on The Athletic. You've just tweeted it out at theathletic.com, at Joe Rexroad on Twitter.
Did you know Joe writes for The Athletic?
Thank you. What have you been working on lately for Tennessee football?
Well, this is State of the Program.
State of the
This is
Program.
an annual State of the Program.
State of the Program.
So it's very long. So it's a lot of stuff, nitty-gritty on the team. But I got a very nice one-on-one interview with Josh Heupel for this, and also have Tennessee's coordinators as well weighing in. And, one of the interesting things about this that I think just is unique to Tennessee. Well, not unique just to Tennessee, but Tennessee is in a pretty interesting and I think rare spot right now, which is just the collective situation. And, of course, you hear different things about that on a daily basis too. But I did ask because, recruiting has gone extremely well for Tennessee. It's going extremely well. Now, this is where you take it beyond Tennessee and Josh Heupel. But it's interesting to me to think about I guess, how coaches are going to be evaluated. Are they going to be evaluated differently moving forward? But I did ask Josh Heupel about Spire Sports for this. Of course, that's the collective in Knoxville. David Ubben he's written just about every word on these guys. I mean, he's been inside the building and knows the ins and outs of Spire Sports. They are, of course, the collective that has been raising money and putting together deals. And essentially, people who either their school don't do this or they just don't like Tennessee, you're like, well, you're just paying for players. And essentially, that's kind of like what's okay now, above board. So, but I did ask Heupel about that, and his quote was, quote, we don't really have any interaction with them. We've embraced NIL, and he talked about his playing career, play for a powerful brand. So he's, your academic success was the most important thing, but he goes through all the things that are very easy to sell, including Knoxville and how it's a dynamic opportunity, in college sports and all that stuff. So, like coaches, I think don't like to they don't like to talk about this stuff. If they do talk about this stuff, it's like Nick Saban saying, Texas A&M, and then Jimbo's like, it's about our academic programs, and, you get back and forth on that. But Alex Golesh told me this, too. Here's a quote. It's like, man, we've kind of forgotten that you still build a team with culture and guys giving more of themselves they take from the whole, that there's still a team element to all of this, end quote. And his point was like, that's all I hear about, is all you guys talking about the collectives and NIL. And I understand, I understand the frustration there, because there is a lot more. Like, there's still all the things that work to win in sports and be successful in sports, are still there,
Sure.
And this has completely dominated the discussion. But do coaches moving forward, is it almost like we're going to have like a GM coach situation in college football? Like, we don't judge Mike Vrabel for who the players are. Judge John Robinson. Is it, because everybody has these big, and this is before NIL and stuff. I mean, Alabama, Saban had 27 recruiting analysts. I mean,
interns everywhere.
Yeah. So, but increasingly, and especially if it's a little bit more like, okay, here's the money, here's the offer with the top kids. Do we give coaches less credit for great recruiting classes? Are we looking at this like Josh Heupel? Holy cow, he's out there selling left to right, incredible. Or also, do you blame a coach as much if things don't go well in that way?
I think it's a great question. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the recruiting has changed to some degree. Now, it's not – I don't think it's as drastically different now as some people make it out to be. There's obviously always been some under-the-table stuff that's taken place, and now it's
significant.
Not. Yeah, and now it's not. So it's not like it's totally different from that regard, but the collectives now, I think, give maybe an outward face to it, where if you're sitting here as a fan, I do think increasingly as they go forward here, if you're not recruiting as well, the conversation is going to be less of, okay, well, Josh Heupel's got to go out and recruit better, and more of, they got to raise more money. They got to get more money in this collective. I do think from a fan standpoint, that conversation is going to change a little bit. Now, is that going to change the way you view coaches in terms of their job security? I don't know, because it's still about the results on the field, and at some point that's going to win out. I do think, though, if you're a fan base, let's say you're a Tennessee fan and recruiting dies off here in the next 2-3 years, is that going to be more on Heupel, or are you going to look at Spire Sports and be like, what are you guys doing? Where'd the money go?
Right. You're going to pick it outside Spire Sports.
Yeah.
Raise more money. Yeah. Tweet. It's like when people get mad at an airline or something.
Yeah.
They lost my United. Thanks at United for losing my bags. What's up at Spire Sports? Yeah. But it is. It's and again, it's go back to before this. There's a huge recruiting battle. Alabama, Auburn goes down to the last minute, and those recruiting battles that go down to the last minute, where it's like, wow, a kid had his choice of places for years, but it goes down to the absolute last minute. What is going on, I wonder? And then, The kid chooses Auburn. Well, the Alabama fans, they paid him, they cheated.
Yeah.
And if it went the other way, the bidding war, I mean, and again, that's real. I mean, these things, that's how a lot of these go. But now it's like, but you still all tied it to like this. Nick Saban's just incredible in the living room, and he closes the deal. I mean, how do you resist, playing for Coach Saban when, in a lot of cases before, sometimes it was very simply like, what's the best deal that I'm going to get to come here? So I wondered about, and I said this at a college football team meeting, and I think I got a lot of blank stares, and it's probably not going to happen, but I did think about if recruiting becomes this thing that's like sort of, not really the primary job anymore of the coach, or not viewed as much, does coaching salary inflation slow down at all?
Well, my other question on that part of it would be if boosters and other people of the sort are more concerned now about making sure the collective has money, does that influence coaching salary? Does that influence facilities around the country?
I think facilities for sure.
They've been spending money on facilities on just stupid stuff anyway. So I think there's some of that probably needs to be scaled back. But I do wonder moving forward, like Danny White this last week is unveiling plans for Neyland and unveiling plans for Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Like, you have money to do that right now. How much of that money in the future is going to be tied up in the collective and not in the athletic department? I don't know.
Yeah, unless somehow things change, which I know some people want them to change. I'm still struggling to figure out how they're going to change them. I'm still struggling to figure out how any legal battles would be won on that front if they actually tried to cap this or whatever else you could really do. I mean, I just don't see it. Now, do I see everybody going this route? I don't know. I don't know about that. But Saban has basically said, sorry, folks. We're going to have to, again, some of this is just shifting money.
We're going to have to get our collective going now.
Yeah. I mean, some of this is
my hand's been forced.
Right. Some of this is just like, okay, you, and you, Booster ABC, who are giving money in this way, now it's in this way. Some of it really is that. But there is more, and I think the facilities money is going more to players. I don't know. Does some of the coach money that's just skyrocketed slow down a little bit and go more to players? I mean, I'd be good with it.
615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Has NIL changed the way you view coaches' salaries and coaches' recruiting moving forward? Do you think it will change the way you view it moving forward? 615-737-1025. We'll continue that conversation next. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
If you're driving less, you could be saving more on car insurance. Save money with pay-per-mile insurance from Allstate. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Are you just riding through life, living, but not really living? If that sounds like you, you need to treat yourself to Cartronics, Nashville's premier one-stop shop for vehicle customization since 1982. Their team of install techs provide a 5-star experience from start to finish, ensuring your vehicle is the coolest ride on the block. From cars and trucks to boats, motorcycles, golf carts, and off-road vehicles, Cartronics specializes in personalizing your automotive experience. So visit their website at cartronics.audio and start living today.
We're saluting 4 more of our teammates at Cromwell Media this month. Cindy Johns in sales has been here 20 years. Lakin King, who handles all our commercial logs, is enjoying 13 years. Operations Manager Ace Swartz is toasting 12 years with us. And Chase McCabe, Program Director for our Sportstalk stations, chalks up 10 years. That's 55 years of combined experience with our company. There's a reason for that tenure. We value our employees and do our very best to create a great work experience. Check us out at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McCabe, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have 2 choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
5X480, Dayton B100 V-Belt, one of the many parts Grainger carries. It's also the item that helped Rob carry the day. The job was on hold, deadline fast approaching, but a quick search on Grainger.com and Rob found his part. And with same-day pickup at his local branch, he and his crew got the job done, safely and on time. Get supplies and solutions for every industry with real-time product availability. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say? Never miss a moment of the show. Subscribe to the Robbie and Rex Road podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. I got some tickets to give away to the Stadium Tour featuring Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts at Nissan Stadium coming up on June 30th. Be caller number 3 at 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Caller number 3 will win a pair of tickets to the Stadium Tour featuring Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts coming up at Nissan Stadium on June 30th. 615-737-1025. That is a concert that I'm sure Joe Rexroad will find some way to be at.
Okay, say it again. Motley Crue, Poison,
Def Leppard.
Man.
Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Man. What's the date on this?
June 30th. I can see you like doing some mental gymnastics in your head right now of, okay, what am I doing June 30th?
Well,
how do I get there?
Oh, dang it. We're going to be traveling that day. Dang it. I'm missing it. It would be awesome, though. I may have to catch him on another stop.
Apparently it's a Stadium Tour, man, so you have some options.
So the headliner's Motley Crue?
I guess so.
Because, see, Motley Crue and Def Leppard both have a case.
Yeah.
I'd say they both have a case to headline. That's an interesting. It's almost like
no Poison?
Yeah. They're good as the 3. They're good in the 3 hole. And then, I love some Joan Jett, though.
Yeah.
Joan Jett's got some jams, too. Wow, that's quite a collection. A couple things I was thinking about on this, this topic with Tennessee, and in Tennessee and the larger question of, coaching, recruiting, all that stuff. As I'm talking to Golish, he's in a car and he's driving all over the place because he's doing the exact same thing on the recruiting trail that coaches continue to do. They're out there going to see players. Some of it, a lot of it is also their own evaluations, but they're going to talk to coaches, they're going to talk to players, families, all that stuff. I mean, they're out recruiting hard, like on the road all the time. Like they are doing their job the same way. And I do like this does get lost as like there are the the absolute top players, the 5 stars that everybody wants. But most of the players on a college football team, and I believe this will always be true, always, most of them, the vast, vast majority, are not making enough money to make their decision for them. They just won't be. I mean, they're going to make some bucks here or there. For the most part, most of the guys on a roster, you're making the same kind of decision. Where do you want to go to school? Do you like the coaches? Do you like the system? Does it fit you? And look, most guys who play Power 5 football do have NFL dreams. Now, most of them, vast, vast majority of them, won't get there, which is part of one of my big problems with college football recruiting over the years, is it's selling so hard your NFL links when it's like, I hope you're telling these kids that like 2% of them are actually even going to get a paycheck in the league, But that's still, other than, I mean, look, we all know like the Nico talk, right? Okay, so if it's $8 million over 4 years, what's like, but he could be somewhere where it's like, but I believe I will be turned into the first pick here. Well, you go where you'd be turned in the first pick. It's not even close, right? So it's still overblown to me.
The factor that I keep bringing up in this, though, is they're 17 years old when they're making this decision.
Well, yeah, but hopefully there are older people who are some part of the decision, right?
I understand, but when you're talking the amount of money that is thrown out there with some of these quarterbacks with $8 million, it's very difficult to pass that up.
Well, yeah. Well, if it's the only place, if it's one place, but that's where I think things will change too. Is you're gonna see probably more people get into the sweepstakes on certain players, and then you get back to, okay, who do you like better? What offense fits you better? All that stuff, I mean, there's still like recruiting and old ways of doing things that are going to apply.
What I wonder, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago with Mitch Light, that I think is a really fascinating question as they move forward here. We talked about the money with the coaches. Like, does that slow down at all? Does that change with more money being focused on collectives and trying to get players in? I wonder, once you go through a cycle of this, let's say 5 years from now, is the money the same? Like, does it grow? Does it shrink? Like when you're having some of these top level players, especially top level quarterbacks, like are they getting $8 million? Are they getting $17 million? Are they getting $4 million? Like, how does the money change as it continues to move forward? Because you know this as well as I do, there will be some quarterbacks that come in and they're worth everything that they're getting paid because they're playing really well and they're bringing a lot of money to the university and they're going to maximize on their value. And there will be others that are 5-star quarterbacks that come in that you give huge money to if you're some of these collectives, and you will never get that return on that investment. Never. So I wonder how that shakes out as they move forward here.
Yeah, I do too. And I go back and forth because I think certainly there's some people who, first of all, if you have the kind of money where you're just like, yeah, I'll throw $1 million here and $1 million there and all that, then I would think that you'd have a pretty good sense for return on investment. But if you've been a booster for a college football team and you've been in the game long enough, you've seen it. I mean, you've seen plenty of 5 stars or high 4 stars or this kid's going to be a superstar and it never pans out. Sometimes it's injury, but sometimes it's not. So you already have to know going in that there's some level of that. But it will be interesting too, if it's a little bit more direct and above ground now. It's not just under the table. Here's a bag of cash. Do with it what you will. But maybe it's like, okay, I gave $1 million to the collective for this particular kid, and he's not starting as a freshman?
Yeah.
What's up with that, coach? There could be more stuff like that. But, yeah, I suspect that money will still just keep going up, especially like for quarterbacks. I mean, even when everybody knows you're going to have misses. I mean, it's not like the NFL has changed from everybody chasing that quarterback and using a first-round pick on the quarterback, even though we know that most of them won't pan out, right?
Sure.
I mean, you're just searching for that great player there. That can fast forward rebuilding programs, or it can equalize things for one program. Like at Tennessee, if Nico is incredible and is what he's cracked up to be as a recruit, well, you could have 2, maybe 3 years of him as your starter. And does that draw you closer, even if you're not there all the way with your roster, to some of these, to the top programs you're chasing? So, but yeah, I don't know. Overall, like the pools, the collectives, I suspect it all keeps going up, but there's going to be some boosters that are like, gosh, I've poured a lot in, and specifically for this kid, and getting nothing back.
So if this goes the way that it could, and we don't know, but it could with what you threw out there earlier of not exactly like a GM coach, but kind of with the collectives and that being the focus of recruiting, do you think that these universities are maybe a little bit more willing to be patient with a coach if things aren't immediately going well? Like if the fan base and maybe even to some degree the administration views it as, even though they probably never say this, of okay, well maybe it's less about the coach and recruiting now and more about the collectives that you form. Do you think there's more patience that comes along with coaches at high-level football?
I don't know. That's hard. That's hard for me to, expect that.
Because
results are results.
Buyouts mean nothing right now in college football. They'll pay coaches not to coach left and right now in college football, and I wonder if that changes.
It's so like at Vanderbilt, for example. So Barton Simmons, he's the GM.
Yep.
It's also like the personnel department and the people who are, because you're trying to. Vanderbilt's in a different spot. You're trying to find those kids and get in early on some kids, who maybe, and then you can keep them if you find them. And then sometimes, and Alabama comes in, oh yeah, all right, come on, yeah, we'll take you on. Let's go. Here's your offer. Obviously, you're accepting it, right?
Right.
But if you're so it's a different situation for different programs. But the bottom line is you got like a GM, you got the personnel department, and then the money from the collective. But again, there's still, most of these places don't do it that way. I do think more will be, as long as nothing changes. Do we get to the point where just about everybody does to some extent, more on the front end? And if you don't, then you're really going to struggle? I don't know.
It's a great question. Coming up next, we will add a Robbie to Robbie and Rex Road here on the program. Robbie Weinstein from 24/7 Sports covers Vanderbilt will join us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the Vandy boys and their season coming to a close yesterday in Corvallis. That's next. This is Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, I'm Ryan Johansson, and this is Smashville.
Back to Johansson, and Johansson tips it in with one hand on the stick.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Staples is evolving to Staples Connect, a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore what's new at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Upgrade your diamond studs this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes, you can do it now at Genesis Diamonds. It's our best financing of the year. Not just on diamond studs, but rings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So those 2-carat studs, just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry also included in this spectacular offer. Only available until June 18th, and only at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
This year, escape to Land Between the Lakes for an exciting day trip away from home, only an hour and a half northwest of Nashville. They have over 170,000 acres of forest and wetlands on a peninsula in western Kentucky and Tennessee. Hiking, camping, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, outdoor learning, you name it. Land Between the Lakes is where you want to be.
Get up close and personal with wildlife at the Woodlands Nature Station. Take a scenic drive through the elk and bison prairie. Visit the 1850s home place working farm and see what life was like over 170 years ago.
Plan your adventure at landbetweenthelakes.us.
If you missed the latest from Darren, Daunic, and Chase.
Let's say hello to Dan Patrick. His show will air 8 to 11 mornings here in this market. Dan, how you doing? Good afternoon.
So it's Train, Jewel, and Blues Traveler.
Yeah, it's a good show.
All right, I'm in on it.
Yeah.
I'm in on it, yeah.
Have you seen any of those acts?
Let's see. I have seen Blues Traveler. I have met Jewel. I have not seen Train.
2 out of 3.
I think Jewel lives here, right?
I thought, isn't she dating Charlie
Whitehurst.
Yeah,
Charlie Whitehurst. Is she still with Clipboard Jesus?
Wow.
I don't. Well, if I'm him, I get called for holding. I don't let her go.
Tune in Darren, Daunic, and Chase weekdays 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I can go from 0 to 60 way too fast.
Who knew electric vehicle owners were having so much fun?
20 or 30 years ago, I owned a gas sports car, and this car is much quicker.
It's a great, fun car to drive. When you put your foot on the accelerator, it just goes.
They're fun, they're fast, they're efficient.
Visit driveelectrictn.org to learn how you can start having fun driving an electric vehicle.
Sponsored by the East Tennessee Clean Fuels Coalition, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Starting Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game, Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rex Road and Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We are taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Tough day yesterday for the Vandy boys. They lose the first game in the Corvallis Regional, and they battle back throughout the tournament to force a deciding game yesterday, and they fall at the hands of Oregon State. So the first time since 2016 that they did not win the regional, and obviously there's been COVID tossed in there too since then. So it's been since 2016 since they did not win the regional. And to help us talk more about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Robbie Weinstein, who covers Vanderbilt for 24/7 Sports. Robbie, what's going on, man? How we doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, guys. Very kind of strange, I would say, for somebody, I would obviously cover Vanderbilt to be done with baseball on June 7th.
I was going to say.
I'm definitely used to going all the way to basically the end of the month.
Yeah, it's a very, very different feeling over there. So what did you make of the way that the regional played out for Vanderbilt? Obviously, it's a tough start in game one, and when you lose that first game, like the path to win just becomes really difficult at that point. But Vanderbilt, to their credit, really battled in this regional. What did you make of the way it played out?
Right. I mean, after that first game against San Diego, it just looked so much like what we saw in the SEC tournament, as well as to some extent against LSU and for much of the SEC season. That 3-2 loss, it's just kind of lifeless, bad defense. The lineup really wasn't doing much. So at that point, I was not sure that they were going to beat New Mexico State. For them to come back and win the next three games by huge margins, I thought was a lot better than what I expected for them. And honestly, I mean, in that game yesterday, the decisive game against Oregon State, they were in it. And I think if they had held Thomas Schultz, the top reliever, back instead of throwing him in that 8-1 win against Oregon State when they didn't really need to, there's a chance they win that game yesterday. So considering that really poor start, they did a lot better than I expected, but this is Vanderbilt baseball, and even if they go on the road to a tough regional, they expect to win it, and they came up short.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up on Schultz, Robbie. I mean, I thought about that too. Now, they threw him 3 innings, right? They threw him 3 innings in the route. I understand that coaches will tell you, okay, you say we have a big lead and use whoever, and then all of a sudden, it's 8-3, it's 8-5, and now it's like all of a sudden it's a different game. Like, I get the idea of make sure you win a game, right? But I also I guess I wonder if maybe just an inning less or something would have made it possible to have him available.
Yeah, I think that decision ended their season effectively. So I will say at the time, he was warming up in that game. That was, I believe, in the top of the 7th, and Vanderbilt was up 5-0 at that time. Oregon State did score 1 run in that inning, and the game was a little bit more in doubt. So I get it. And then once you warm the guy up, I understand the argument of, hey, might as well bring him in. But they didn't need to keep him in for 48 pitches, which is what they did because they were up 8-0 at one point in that game, after he had come in, and they could have taken him out after one inning of work or whatever it may be, and gone to somebody else and brought him back. I think the move would have been Christian Little and then Thomas Schultz. You got to go with your best available arms in an elimination game situation on Monday, and I really think that was the wrong decision. You can. It's hard to second guess looking back. Like, we don't know that Vanderbilt for sure would have won that game if, for instance, Schultz pitches instead of Patrick Riley in that situation, but it would have given them a better chance.
Robbie, why do you think really all season long, especially in SEC play, the lineup wasn't as consistent as most Vanderbilt fans hoped that it would be?
Well, I think certain aspects of how when Tim Corbin and his staff planned this roster out years in advance, I think certain aspects of it didn't go as expected, and that specifically led to the bottom of the lineup having some holes in it. The big thing is Carter Young arguably would have been expected to be the best player on the entire team for this season, and he hit a little bit over 200. He's a very talented player. He is going to be drafted this year, and we'll see whether he comes back or not. If he does come back, it's quite possible that he has a good season next year, but it seems like there were some issues between the ears this season as far as confidence at the plate. That really hurt. And then Davis Diaz coming in as a freshman, very highly ranked recruit. And, when you look down the road in Knoxville, Tennessee's freshmen are a lot of them are contributing a lot. And Diaz kind of had a tough season. Tate Kolwick, another player toward the bottom of the lineup who had a tough season. Parker Noland kind of caught fire late, but for much of the campaign, he was sort of in the 240, 250 range. So I think ultimately they had too many holes in their lineup, especially at the bottom end of it. And even though Enrique Bradfield Jr. and Spencer Jones and Dom Keegan are so good, that there were at times kind of some automatic outs in the 6, 7, 8, 9 parts of the lineup.
Yeah, so moving forward, Robbie, I feel like their pitching next year could be really, really good. And I mean, I know it's tough to project next year without knowing some draft decisions, right? But lay those out for us. First of all, the big ones. I know there's I know we had a MLB writer who had something recently about one of their top recruits who may be leaning toward, coming to Vanderbilt. But then I look at the lineup. I mean, Bradfield is going to be a star next year. Vaz, some of those guys, but they've got some holes in that lineup. How do you view this team in 23?
I think that's spot on. Their pitching is going to be really good. Probably one of the best pitching teams in college baseball, but a ton of questions about the lineup. So the high schooler who could potentially get to campus that you mentioned is Dylan Lesko. He was considered by a lot of experts to be the top high school pitching prospect in the country, but he had Tommy John. And so the thought is if he slides a little bit, does he decide to come to campus and play either 2 or 3 seasons, depending on what his eligibility is, and try to go in the top 5 of the draft after a couple of years at Vanderbilt? That's possible. But then I think he got TJ in April, so it's not even completely clear what he would be able to contribute next season. But Sam Leboke potentially could come back for Vanderbilt. Coming in, he was a stud prospect, and he has pitched well for Vandy. He underwent Tommy John, I think, last season, but didn't end up playing this season. They held him back, and he could be their best pitcher next year if he comes back. That's definitely possible. People kind of forgot about him. Michael Doolin is another guy who had looked really good at various points in his career, and he has had multiple surgeries on his arm. So if he comes back and he's healthy, then that could be significant. Carter Holton, of course, looked like an ace down the stretch. So I think they're going to have a lot of good options on the mound. They're going to have a lot of good starting pitchers and a lot of good pitching depth. But in terms of the lineup, I think they're going to have to use the transfer portal personally, and that's not something that Tim Corbin has done a lot. Maybe one guy a year here or there, and sometimes like with Vaz, he was a JUCO guy, so that's a little bit different. But LSU, for instance, totally revamped their team in one offseason with the transfer portal. So did Texas A&M, and those teams had really good seasons. Texas A&M is still playing, so I think that's something that Tim Corbin should look at. as a way to juice that lineup back up because other than, if they don't do that, I guess they would be relying on young players to suddenly pop, and it's certainly possible with the way that Vandy recruits that could happen, but that's a scary thing to rely on.
Robbie Weinstein from 24/7 Sports on with us here on Robbie and Rex Road. So, Robbie, as you look at, obviously Vanderbilt has such an established program and a tradition now of success. Tennessee has kind of burst onto the scene the last couple of years. What do you make of the Tennessee and Vanderbilt rivalry and what that could be as they move forward here with Tim Corbin and Tony Vitello?
I think it could be great. It's already kind of electric. It seems that, I think Tennessee's players at various points have openly said that they don't like Vanderbilt. I don't really know what Vanderbilt did to them other than win a lot, but hey, it's a fun in-state rivalry, and I think it could be great as long as Vanderbilt does get back to being what they usually are. It's kind of disappointing that this year, when Tennessee is by far the best team in the country, that Vanderbilt couldn't put a little bit better product on the field to compete with them better in those 4 games. Because, just for fun purposes, I think that would have been exciting. It would have been electric. Instead, it was a 4-game sweep for Tennessee, the 3 games in the regular season, and then the SEC tournament game as well, which was not close. But for sure, I expect Tennessee, of course, they're a pretty heavy favorite to win the College World Series this year. They're not going away anytime soon. And it's going to be interesting in terms of, going after players in the state. Vanderbilt doesn't really rely on in-state recruiting. If you look at the best players on the team, most of them are from outside of Tennessee and even as far as California, Massachusetts, in terms of Spencer Jones is from San Diego and Dom Keegan is from near Boston. But at the same time, Chase Burns, I would imagine Vanderbilt would love to have a player like that. He was really highly rated. So there are going to be some battles that are going to be made more interesting, I think, going forward. But no doubt, I don't expect Tennessee to go away at all. So I think that this is a rivalry that is really going to be here to stay.
All right, so Robbie, I wanted to get quick thoughts on 3 other Vanderbilt programs. Just your quick thoughts on what's ahead in this coming season and how recruiting is going on football, men's and women's basketball.
Sure. I'll start with football because that's sort of the most timely right now. They are hosting official visits each weekend in June, and they picked up a commitment over the weekend from a 3-star linebacker from Alabama who is pretty good, and I think they've got another one coming down the pipe. So, that's kind of going to be interesting because they lost some commitments earlier in the spring, and they're looking to rebound, but they did a good job of doing that last year. And of course, Barton Simmons, the general manager, I think he's kind of crafty in finding some of these guys that other teams haven't discovered yet. I would say in terms of the fall, Joe, you watched them last year. They've got a long way to go, and I wouldn't expect more than 3 or 4 wins. Men's basketball team, I think they did a decent job in the transfer portal of trying to add some guys to help replace Scottie Pippen Jr. It's going to be a good defensive team. I don't think they did an amazing job because the offense is going to be an issue. And then the women's basketball team, that's probably the main program out of those 3 that I would suggest is really has positive momentum and is probably on the rise because Shea Ralph really got a lot out of that team that the roster had been just totally thinned out by transfers at the end of the Stephanie White era. They were competitive last year, and they're bringing in a number of good transfers. So that's a team that could be competitive, whereas I think football and men's basketball will be fine, but football's got a long way to go.
Well, Robbie, great stuff as always. Appreciate you taking time to join us this morning, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Robbie Weinstein, our guest here on Robbie and Rex Road from 24/7 Sports. Coming up next, it is time for the Rex Rant. Joe Rex Road's rant of the day. You're going to like this one. 615-737-1025, your thoughts as well. This is Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Super Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie.
Hitting a lull this morning in terms of storms, but we'll see them pick back up again in coverage and intensity this afternoon and evening.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Invite you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
The Electronic Express Father's Day sale is here. Huge deals on Father's Day gifts from brands like Traeger grills, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Outdoor living, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make Father's Day happen.
Introducing the first Nashville location of Mayweather Boxing and Fitness in Midtown. Perfect for all fitness levels. Join a community that will help every person unleash their inner champ with fun, effective, and empowering group boxing circuit workouts. Become a founding member today. Stop by the brand new studio in Midtown at 2041 Broadway, Suite C, or call 629-206-9092 to join the family exclusive. Pre-opening rates now available. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, the gold standard in boxing fitness.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app. The time is now for the Rex Rant.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
On Robbie and Rex Road, here on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
So I'm listening to the morning show today. I went on a walk this morning. I'm on my morning walk listening to Robbie and Joe. And Joe, of course, and I knew, I was so expecting this too. I was like, goody. So I knew Joe was going to get all on his high horse about this, right? Like, this is like right up his alley.
Oh, yeah, he loves a good media scandal.
Oh, God, he loves it. So it was like, I mean, they should not have gone with this. I mean, the fact that they did and just...
They shouldn't have gone with it.
They shouldn't have.
It was irresponsible.
But it's the writer holier than thou. Like, like the media writer that, like when we broke the story about Aaron Rodgers buying a house and the local scribes were, holier than thou about, just because he's buying a house doesn't mean, what was that Adam Schefter reported? The Titans were interested. Okay. Like, now it's different because Adam Schefter reported it, but it was just us talking about that he's open to join the Titans. It's like, this is not news. This is, And so, anywho, Joe was so on the high horse about it. Well, I mean, I remember, what was it, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? I remember having to track down whether or not a rumor that started on the Robbie and Rex Road show. I had to track down whether or not it was true that John Hines got a 6-year contract. And when I talked to my source, I said, hey, I go, did you guys sign John Hines a 6-year deal? Guys, what? I was like, look, man, I tuned into Robbie and Rexroad, and they were talking about whether or not Hines signed a 6-year deal. So I put out there that he did not sign a 6-year deal. Then there was the guy texted into the text line like a couple weeks ago and said that Adam Schefter reported that Traylon Burks did not take his Allegra before practice, and that was why he had allergies, and that Burks is expected to be full go going forward. And Robbie and Joe talked about that. And then the next segment, that same guy felt bad because he screwed with Robbie and Joe.
Started this whole storm.
He was like, hey, I was just playing around. That was just a joke. And so I texted Joe, and I was like, you can't be mad at this guy for falling for some of the things that you've fallen for. You can sit there and say, hey, man, like, you got to do better, which is what we've done. But you can't sit there and be like, that is irresponsible. It is
irresponsible.
But you have to at least address that you've done it too.
Yeah.
Oh, you think he did that?
I don't know if Joe and Robbie did that or not.
No,
Actually, no, I do know for certain. I was listening to Robbie and Rexroad. The last segment, Joe said, I apologize for running with something that was not true.
He says it's not close to being the same thing. I think it's pretty close to being the same thing.
I think what the broadcaster did on Friday night was way more irresponsible than what Robbie and Joe did. Because stating as fact that somebody has a PED suspension.
Did you hear what the announcer said?
I saw a clip of it on Twitter.
I haven't heard what the guy said. So, I mean, like, again, this is my thing.
But that is so much worse. So much worse.
But to me, it's kind of all the same. It's just, it's bigger. Like, so it's bigger when it's about
worse.
I mean, again, the point of
that is a really big accusation to say that somebody is suspended for PEDs.
I know, but I guess my bigger point here is that just like they got duped, this guy got duped. And that's the only
point. And to run with it is very irresponsible.
I mean, look, all I know is
to state it as fact is different than reading a text from the text line.
Well, again, they read the text from the text line that Schefter reported, and then they talked about it as if it was Schefter reporting. And then the guy said, no, I'm kidding. And then they were like, oh, we were just, whatever. And that happens. It happens.
It does.
That was a nice little diatribe by Jared and Caroline there. Joe had many different facial expressions if you're watching on our streaming platforms throughout that. Joe, I turn things over to you for your Rex rant.
Well, first of all, this is not this is a Rex and Rob rant.
You're
going to join in with me.
Me too.
It's a Rex Rob Red rant. I have not heard any of that. I heard, well, you texted me, Michelle.
I was infuriated.
Well, my favorite part is definitely, have you heard it? Well, I haven't listened to it, but let me just blab and blab and blab without having a clue. Okay, so, see, listen. Like, Jared, I think it's cool to be a contrarian. And that's what he's being a contrarian, okay? But you don't want to be a contrarian when your view is contrary to basic logic, basic processing of clear information, and very basic understanding of the industry in which you work. That's too much contrarian. Remind me of the stuff. Like, we read a caller called about John Hines. Is that right?
Somebody called in about John Hines and said that he had a 6-year deal.
And we're like, 6-year deal?
And
what?
I said, I think the direct quote was, well, that's not been reported. I saw that as somebody put that on Twitter, but that's not been reported anywhere.
So on the show, in real time, someone put that in front of us, which happens all the time.
Correct.
And we said, nah, it doesn't sound right. And quickly it was debunked. Yeah, I think Jared did text me that day.
I think we did say after that, well, if they did give him a 6-year deal, my goodness.
Yeah, well, that'd be crazy.
But we literally said after the call was made, that has not been reported.
So people on the show listen to us take in that information. The other thing was, and I did apologize because I don't remember I don't remember exactly how we reacted to it, but we were like, okay, we need to find this tweet from Schefter, right?
Yeah.
So it may have gone to the next segment, but typically when someone says, Schefter reported this, okay, I'm reading it off the text line. Let's go find the tweet. Okay, no, that's not there. Yeah, then the guy texted. I don't know if it was the next segment or it was 10 seconds later. Regardless, again, we're taking in something. We're saying, here's who it's from, someone on the text line. Okay, so you could go about it and read it and say, oh, I'm not going to say that out loud. I'm going to check on it, and then I'm just never going to say it out loud. That'd probably be better. But you're actually comparing that to this that you didn't even listen to when you started just running your mouth. Shut up with this crap, Jared. I mean, come on, man.
He does this way too much.
I mean, this is so bad. And thank you, Caroline. I mean, Caroline, trying to talk some sense into him. This guy, you can say media high horse or whatever. First of all, I think the bigger criticism people make is that media don't go after each other, right?
Yeah.
That's what I hear. You guys always want to protect each other. And
it's not the media high horse, it's the writer.
Well, that's right. Yeah. The writer high horse. Dude, I don't care what part of media you're in. This guy didn't say, I heard from someone I saw on Twitter. He said as fact that a kid tested positive for PEDs and that the whole team is about to be tested for PEDs. He said it on there like, gosh, that's going to be awfully interesting for the Vols. I mean, do we have that? Do we want to play? Did you ever listen to it, Jared? No, then he listened. No. He listened to it. He's like, oh, yeah, no big deal. Is that right? Dude, come on. Like, you're making yourself look ridiculous.
Well, look, Jared is the king of taking things out of context and then just saying stuff. So I'm not really surprised by this, but it just is what it is. Just let him do his thing.
I need you to be mad.
Yeah, listen, I was listening to this, and I was just like, my jaw dropped. I'm like, I need to text Robbie and Joe right now, right this second.
I mean, but like beyond, because so what this is basically it puts in a spot where like we're defending ourselves. But honestly, like I'm trying to defend everyone's ears against completely stupid combinations of words that you are trying to pump into the air, Jared. Like seriously, how could you listen to that thing and not understand that it's a huge deal? It is a huge mistake. He should be punished for this. I mean, you can't do this.
Well, did he say he didn't listen to it?
He didn't listen to it.
So he never did at all?
I don't think so.
Do you have it?
The ESPN?
Yeah.
Give me a second.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, we don't have time for that. But
we don't have time for that? I mean, come on. You have to, like, apart from, like, taking it to us and all that stuff, which was dumb, please tell me, Jared, that you understand how big of a mistake this was. It's not a high horse thing. It's
he's not going to do that. You understand that, right?
Well,
this is what he does.
But this is Jared where you need to – Jared gets in this thing where it's like, here's my take. It's a Skip Bayless thing. Here's my take. And then no matter what else happens, what other information comes where you could change, you're just, nope, that's my take. You got to get off that, man. You got to get off that routine. This is one of your dumbest yet, and that is saying something, my friend.
Coming up next, we'll be joined by Gentry Estes from the Tennessee, and we'll get his thoughts on the Titans in OTAs, also his thoughts on the Vols as they head into super regional play as well, taking on Notre Dame. That's next. This is Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch him. Derrick Henry, touchdown.
We talk The Game.
I don't think it was a bad play, but he took out their goalie.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Attention all foremen with 3 years experience. Harness LLC is your local excavation and site utilities company. We're growing and we need 5 foremen to grow with us. This is Ray Jeter with Harness LLC. Invest in a company who's going to invest in you. Go to selectharness.com to apply today. The 5 foremen we hire will receive 100% paid health coverage, vacation, and up to $6,000 sign-on bonus. Go to selectharness.com and apply today. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and the NBA Finals are here, and so is your chance to score big on FanDuel Sportsbook. Throughout the NBA Finals, FanDuel is giving new customers $200 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You can bet the money line, point spreads, player props, and so much more. Plus, you could combine your bets for an even bigger payday with the same game parlay. I still like the Celtics in this series to win against Golden State. I like Jason Tatum as well over on points, but you take it any way you want to take it. Just make sure you sign up with promo code ROB. If you haven't tried FanDuel now, it's the perfect time to give it a shot because the only thing sweeter than watching the finals is cashing in on all the action. So join today with promo code ROB and turn a $5 bet into $200 in free bets, win or lose. Make every game feel like Game 7 with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expires 14 days days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at Harding Place offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at their Harding Place location specialize in general orthopedics, foot and ankle, hip, pain management, hand, wrist, and elbow trauma, total joints, and orthopedic spine surgery. They offer same-day appointments, so get back to enjoying life sooner. Schedule your appointment online at tnhouston.com. Conveniently located at 394 Harding Place in Nashville. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing, towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive, this is Robbie Rexroad. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Welcome back in, hour number 3 of Robbie and Rexroad here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Gentry Estes from the Tennessean. Gentry, what's going on? How we doing?
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, I genuinely hate to interrupt that last segment. I was right there with you guys on that one. Right there. It was absolutely insane what the ESPN announcer said. You can't do that. It was beyond ridiculous and stunning to hear that sort of thing on the air.
Thank you.
Get off your media high horse, Gentry.
Another media high horse rider. Bill freaking Shakespeare.
Gentry, we got a lot to get to with you here today on the show. Let's just start with the Vols and the Super Regional against Notre Dame. What did you make of their performance in the regional? What stuck out to you there, and what do you make of this matchup for Tennessee taking on Notre Dame?
Well, I think this weekend, if you say going in, okay, they're going to go 3-0, then everybody would have expected that. But the way those last two games played out, I mean, they were really fun to watch. There was a lot of drama. There were very tense games, and I think there was good and bad in that for Tennessee. The good being that the lineup really stepped up in both games. Those were both situations in which you could see the pressure getting to a team a little bit that's as favored as Tennessee is. You could see a team getting tight and pressing at the plate. They didn't do it. They were able to get it done hitting-wise, and I think there's a lot to be gained from that. I felt like they needed a test like that. The flip side to that is people aren't really talking a lot about the starting pitching, and the starting pitching was shakier than you would have expected. You know, this is still a pretty young team in a lot of ways. And you get a freshman pitcher like Drew Beam doesn't have his best start. Chase Dolander doesn't have his best start. You know, you're talking about a team that we're expecting them to go to Omaha and make a deep run, maybe win the thing. And if that's the case, the pitching is going to have to be better than it was this last weekend, the starting pitching.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this weekend they're in good shape. You know, the super regional setup, I mean, they got so much depth, and obviously those middle relievers were so good. But I'm with you. I mean, Dolander, Beam, we'll see. Maybe Burns now becomes a good weapon as a bullpen arm. You know, Tidwell was great, but he was against Alabama State. So I agree. I think that's still the big question. So Gentry, I got to get your thoughts on in the airborne digit. You know, from Mr. Beck, which as I think more and more about it, it just makes me laugh. I mean, it's just amazing that he did that in the middle of a play. But what's your? I think a lot of the reaction yesterday was what I expected, like total embrace from Vol Twitter and total condemnation from especially Vol haters. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is who they are, and I don't know that Jordan Beck has ever done that earlier this season. But if someone was to find footage that shows that he did, it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if another player on the team had done that. This is a team that's been doing this all year, and this is just who they are. And I think it's one of the reasons they're as good as they are. They have a mentality that I think has benefited them, and I think it upsets the other guy. I think they're very good at that, and they have. You know, I've used the comparison to pro wrestling in a way. I mean, it's a show, and these guys can talk it, and they'll do these things, and it fits the mentality of their coach. It works for them, and this whole thing. I mean, when you say this is one of the best teams in college baseball history, which Tennessee at this point has a chance to be that. They have put together that kind of season. I think one of the things that people don't understand about them who really haven't watched them play a whole lot is how much of it is this sort of mentality and this sort of approach. They're very much in your face. I covered a series earlier this season against Alabama that ended up being a pretty wild series. That was the one that Vitello got suspended for bumping the umpire. And, you know, but after Tennessee lost the Friday night game, which was, you know, that's a headline at the time because they aren't losing hardly at all. And then afterwards, you know, you got guys coming in talking about punching them in the throat the next day and things like that. That's how they talk. That's how this team. That's just it's not anything like what you would normally see about baseball. And I think there are people that would look at that and really be disgusted by what they see. But there are other people that would look at that and say, you know what, these guys are making college baseball a heck of a lot more interesting than college baseball usually is. And I think there's a case to be made either way, but they're very much you're either going to love them or hate them. And, you know, with Tennessee, you know, I think Tennessee fans could look at that and say, well, these guys might be acting like jerks, but there are jerks. And, of course, they're gonna be on their side.
Gentry Estes from the Tennessean on with us here on Robbie and Rex Road. So, Gentry, now that Vanderbilt's season has come to a close, how do you view the season that was for Tim Corbin and company, and how do you think it sets up from here for them to grow heading into next year?
Yeah, I thought Robbie did a good job coming on with you guys and kind of going over where they had fallen short this season, and it just wasn't what a season that you would expect from Vanderbilt baseball, and especially this year. I mean, I think this team was preseason number 2 in the country, and that's because on paper they were expected to be as good as most Vanderbilt team. You know, just kind of keep it rolling, and it just never really happened. They showed it. The frustrating thing about this team to me was that they showed it in flashes. There were instances where you really saw what this was supposed to look like, and that included this last weekend. For 3 games there in Oregon, they played phenomenally. It was probably the 2 best days of their whole season. So you go into that game yesterday and say, look, they can keep this rolling. They can win this game. And they almost did, but when you look at what happened yesterday, they were able to manufacture some runs. They kind of held it together enough in some areas, but you're talking about a team that had 5 hits yesterday. They scored 6 runs, but they only had 5 hits. They struck out 15 times. I think they were 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position, and this sort of thing has been happening all season. There just wasn't enough production throughout their lineup, and there wasn't enough pitching to cover the lack of production throughout their lineup. This was a team that was pretty good in a lot of areas and not great in any of them, and that's not what you expect from Vanderbilt.
You going to Titans assistant interviews this morning?
No, I'm headed to the office. I'll be out there later on, probably about when you are there, Joe.
Okay. I feel like we're at the point of OTAs where it's like, okay, can we get to mini camp now, or training camp or something? But what's your biggest point of interest right now with this team, with the glimpse you'll get today?
with the glimpse I'll get today or the glimpse I'll get at minicamp? Because I think that at this point, I think it's a lot different.
I guess
when you actually get everyone out there.
Yeah. What are you most interested in right now?
Well, I'll tell you what. I went out there last week and I watched Traylon Burks for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and barely took my eyes off him the whole time, and along with everyone else. I mean, we were charting every single drill. When a guy skips a rep in line and everyone notices it, it's time for minicamp. And that's kind of how it was with Traylon Burks last week. So I probably wouldn't want to do that again today, but that's it's kind of where we're at. Well, I think there are some aspects to this that really haven't been discussed as much because, you do fixate on things, especially with a first-round pick. But Austin Hooper's done really well. And I believe that to be an underrated aspect that's really going to help this team this year. I like what I've seen with him and Ryan Tannehill so far. And I feel like defensively, even though all the stars aren't out there right now, I think the defense should be awfully good. So I think those two aspects, if you're a Titans fan looking for reasons to be optimistic, they exist right now, even as we talk about a first-round pick skipping reps.
Gentry Estes from the Tennessee and our guest here on Robbie and Rexroad. Gentry, great stuff as always. Thanks for taking time to join us this morning, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you bet. Take care, guys.
Absolutely. Gentry Estes, our guest here on Robbie and Rexroad. We'll take your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll get to some of those coming up next. The Sounds returned home to First Horizon Park for a 6-game series against the Norfolk Tides, the AAA affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles. You can catch all the action tonight on ESPN 94.9 at 7:05. Sounds Baseball on ESPN 94.9, presented by 312 Pizza Company and Farm Bureau Health Plans. You're listening to Robbie and Rexroad here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Staples is evolving to Staples Connect, a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore what's new at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
The hottest financing offer is back at Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0-interest financing with nothing down on practically everything in the showroom. That $3,000 Eternity Band is just $50 a month. Buy now, put nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. Available till June 18th only. Get that $6,000 designer ring and pay just $100 a month. We'll even finance the sales tax. Fine jewelry has never been more affordable at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
Smokeville Smoke Shop has been serving Hendersonville and Metro Nashville since 2015 and is committed to providing high-quality, hands-on, and personable customer service. Stop into Smokeville Smoke Shops in Hendersonville, Gallatin, Hermitage, and Goodlettsville to try any of their wide selection of locally sourced products and selection of top nationwide brands including vapes, hookah, hand-blown glass, detox systems, e-juices, kratom products, leaf wraps, a dab bar at the Hendersonville location, and much more. Visit Smokeville Smoke Shops today.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
When Smashville wants to rock.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. Looking to the sky to save me, looking for a sign of life.
Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
On ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks to Gentry Estes for joining us in the last segment. OTAs beginning to wrap up for the Titans this week, and then minicamp right around the corner here for the Titans. Some teams opening up minicamp today and this week. And, Joe, one of those teams is the San Francisco 49ers. And it looks like Deebo Samuel is going to be showing up for the San Francisco 49ers and being a part of the minicamp. Now, obviously, it has been an interesting offseason for the Niners and for Deebo Samuel. He wants a new deal and has requested a trade out of San Francisco. And that happened, a couple months ago at this point, where Deebo Samuel requested a trade out of San Francisco. And San Francisco, to this point, has not shown much interest in accommodating Samuel's request and trading him, and now looks like he's going to be showing up to mandatory minicamp. Now, I realize that it's not the same as it was 10, 15 years ago, where there's a lot of holdouts into training camp. Like the rules have changed on that front. So it's more, financially burdensome now to do those things than it was in the past. So I'm sure that that's a big part of what's going on. But the fact of the matter is, Deebo Samuel requested a trade, and he's showing up to minicamp, and indications I see are he's probably going to be part of the Niners until their stance changes. And right now, both publicly and apparently privately, according to some reporting, there's been no interest in terms of Deebo Samuel being traded to this point. So my question for you is, do you think the Titans maybe bailed on the A.J. Brown negotiations too quickly? Without being in the room, there were some reports that maybe A.J. Brown wanted out and asked for a trade when the negotiations weren't where he thought they should be. Given how Deebo Samuel's situation is playing out, do you think the Titans bailed on A.J. Brown too quick?
Well,
I basically just want to get you mad again.
Yeah.
I just want to get you fired up again.
I think I blacked out that day. I had my own Jordan Beck blackout moment that day. Like, what are you doing?
No birds that day, though.
well,
I
don't know. I may have been flipping off my computer. Yeah, so what you're saying is that a player can demand a trade and have unrealistic demands, and you can continue to employ them and work it out? No way. That can happen?
Seems to be.
You don't say. Now, look, every situation's different. But, yeah, my stance hasn't changed on A.J. Brown. It's over, so we'll just keep, last week, some nice video of A.J. Brown on the practice field. A lot of comments from, Darius Slay, he's going to be, unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
We all know what A.J. Brown is. It's no surprise. We'll see if he stays healthy. We'll see if they're good, if his quarterback's good enough, all that stuff. But, yeah, this is an example of why you can hang in there and you can work something out. And the thing with A.J. Brown is, and this is part of why I was so adamant that they screwed this up, is that I just have, I think, a pretty good feel for A.J. Brown's personality over, his 3 years here. It's, probably easier than that first year when it was pre-COVID. But I think he's exactly the kind of guy who shows up to work and actually feels compelled to not let his teammates down. And ultimately, no matter what hardball he and his agent are playing, make it work and, spend his prime years here being a star player for the Titans. And that's what I think would have happened. And I think all this stuff would have been put behind me, would have gotten paid. They would have found a deal. And A.J. Brown's not the guy who's going to bail on a team. I don't believe that. So, doesn't matter now. He's gone. But here's we're going to watch Deebo, and we said that at the time. You're going to watch the Deebo thing. Let's see what happens. You're going to watch A.J. in Philly, see what happens. And, of course, we're watching Traylon Burks here.
We are, and it is interesting to me. Like if A.J. Brown goes out this year and let's say it does work out and his connection with Jalen Hurts is good and he stays healthy and he has, I don't know what the numbers would be, but let's say he has 1,300 yards, 10, 11 touchdowns, and the Eagles are a playoff team. What's the reaction here going to be if you're the Titans and as you view John Robinson? Now, a lot of that is going to be, okay, well, tell me what Traylon Burks does. So I understand that, but say the Titans don't win the division and they go 9-8, and the Colts go 10-7. They win the AFC South. A lot of people looking around saying, would have been nice to have A.J. Brown here if that's the case. Like, to me, in terms of just the optics of it, a lot of it's going to be, okay, what does Traylon Burks eventually turn into? And that's not just a this year discussion, but down the road as well. But this year, like if A.J. Brown goes out there and has a great year, it's not going to be a great look for John Robinson.
Yeah. Well, look, again, I think we all know what A.J. Brown is. So if he has a great year and he's available every week, yeah, that's because that's the one thing that you can say to me in the Titans' favor is look how many games he missed, look at the various injuries. How do you feel great about him, being a weekly participant as he gets older?
Well, we talked about the injury concern before he was traded.
For sure. That's right. Like, that was the Titans' negotiating chip, and that was the concern. That was the reason for pause. So that's, but yeah, if he's fine, and he's past that, and then he has a great year. Well, I don't think anybody will be surprised if it's a great year. I mean, he should have a great year, even with Jalen Hurts as quarterback. Like, he's going to produce, and I don't know if they'll be good or not, but if you have that, and then in tandem with, as you said, Titans taking a step back, because you're right, Traylon Burks is that's going to be a multi-year evaluation, but this thing goes into the window thing. Well, I thought the window was now.
Yeah.
If the window's now, why are you taking a step back from someone is whatever word you want to apply to A.J. Brown? I would put star or close to it. He's a standout, true number one receiver in the NFL, which I understand history doesn't really matter here, but the history of the franchise is very hard to find that guy. And just look, the reality of the NFL, even with so many receivers who come in now and are ready as rookies, there's still, how many busts are there? The Eagles had so many that they finally decided they would trade picks to go get one they know can play. It's hard to find guys can play, and we don't know if Traylon Burks can play yet.
We don't, and I don't know. I look at this A.J. Brown situation, and I could just see the Titans fans' reaction right now if he goes nuts. And, I mean, look, that's a decision that you got to live with if you're John Robinson because you've already made it at this point. So you can't go back in time and reverse what's happened here, but like, it is interesting. I know Jared and Caroline have talked about the A.J. Brown situation, and Jared has brought up, he thinks the Titans did the right thing and that it's, quote-unquote, kind of like the Patriot way that they used to be. Well, I mean, we'll see. I will say it is very Patriot what they did here. Is that always the right call? I don't know. The window conversation makes me raise my eyebrows a little bit to it because this is in direct opposition to that.
And
look, and again, they know things. They were involved in conversations that you and I were not involved in. So I understand that. And maybe they just legitimately got to the point where there was no resolution whatsoever and they didn't see it. But the Deebo Samuel thing, depending on how this plays out, is going to be interesting to monitor of maybe the Titans just kind of pulled the trigger a little too early on A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I mean, you're pulling the trigger there to get something back. But that's the thing. It's like, even not knowing every bit of discussion, I do know that there was more time. I definitely know that there was more time, that it didn't have to happen then, and that cooler heads often prevail in these situations, and they really do. Again, it depends on who you're dealing with. And the agent is one thing, and obviously this agent is aggressive. But again, I'll go back to
the same agent as Deebo Samuel, by the way.
Right, exactly. Which at the time looked like one way, and again, like you said, the fines are heavy, for missing things. So you have to keep that in mind here too. But I'll bet that Deebo Samuel is a really good player for the Niners this year and that they figure it out. And that's what could have happened here. Didn't happen, like you said. For John Robinson, he will not be like looking at like A.J. Brown Twitter highlights probably next year. Like what's the point? And the thing is, like, let's say Traylon Burks just has an okay rookie year. He's not great. He's not close to what A.J. Brown is. That's the most likely. I mean, it's very unlikely that he's going to come close to replacing what A.J. Brown did for this offense. But he plays. You can see where he could be good. He's improving, and they're really good. Then it's okay. Because you found your offensive line choices were good, and your offensive line's good. Caleb Farley, wow, that ended up being a good pick. He's a starting cornerback and really good. This team wins a division. Then the direct A.J. Brown loss is way less of a problem, right? I mean, there's a lot of different – again, it's just like John Robinson last year. Julio Jones doesn't work out. Clowney didn't work out. Beasley's had Isaiah – he's had a lot of misses. But also you found like some dudes off the street who helped you play winning football, and you were the number 1 seed. So as the GM, you put together a team that performed. However that comes about, if it keeps happening, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. It's just harder for me to see it coming about without A.J. Brown.
What would Traylon Burks, outside of like just the win-loss total of the team, because that's ultimately what's most important, Traylon Burks, what do you need to see from him as the year goes on to make you feel great that he can come in and maybe not even this year, but one day adequately replace A.J. Brown?
Well, I think the thing with him, and this I go back to way before the draft when our Derek Mason was talking about this, and obviously no one here knows anything close to as much as Derek Mason about NFL receivers, having been a great one. And he said the big difference he saw was the feet. A.J. Brown has really quick feet. A.J. Brown may not be a pure 4.3 guy, but he has good speed, and I think better speed too, but quicker feet, getting out of his breaks. TD talked about that last week. That's just like from the technical side of things, is he explosive and sudden enough? Then you get into, is he in shape?
Well,
I mean, you got to
that's going to have to be part of the equation.
Yeah, but look, I will say, if you want to go watch just cut-ups of Arkansas last year, you see why he went where he went. I mean, he's got size, speed, power, tough to bring down. Who was it on our show yesterday talking about his catch radius? I love that term. I love catch radius. Such a great,
It's Corey Curtis.
Yeah. Yes, Corey. Of course it was Corey Curtis with catch radius. I love that. It's one of those, draft Nick terms that's now just a mainstream term. But he does. He goes up and he just gobbles up the ball. I mean, I could see him being a better red zone threat, like a little bit more of a just throw the fade up guy in the red zone than AJ. But you're just going to have to see consistent excellence from him. And obviously you hope durability. I mean, that is the knock on AJ, and it's a fair one.
We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll get into some storylines heading into minicamp coming up next as well. Attention men, have you been struggling with erectile dysfunction? Well, Hillside Medical Clinic has a breakthrough treatment for ED that does not require any pills, injections, or surgery. And right now, Andrew joins me from Hillside Medical Clinic to tell us all about it. Andrew, what's going on?
Well, that's right, guys. If you're struggling with ED, you're probably sick of those pills. I don't blame you. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of a technology. It's called wave therapy. Gentle pressure waves go through the skin into the blood vessels. It only requires a few 10-minute treatments, and it's clinically proven to get rid of the erectile dysfunction without the use of pills.
So, Andrew, what kinds of studies have been done on this wave therapy technology?
Well, it is extensive. 60 clinical studies. Think of that, from 5 countries all over the world. This is heavily vetted. Even Cambridge University studied this, and it was called the new standard of care for erectile dysfunction.
And, Andrew, you've got a special offer if our listeners call in right now.
We certainly do. Guys, if you're ready to end the ED and regain your love life, grab your phone, give us a call. The assessment, exam, and blood flow ultrasound is going to be free this morning. And this very popular gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom, you'll love that. It's worth hundreds of dollars. Call us now. It's all no charge.
You heard it, guys. You can put a stop to your erectile dysfunction by treating the root cause of the problem. Call Hillside Medical Clinic right now to qualify for that offer at 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your ED and regain your love life. Call Hillside Medical Clinic right now at 615-576-5000.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
They're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
there's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. There's no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month at Hiller. Until the end of May, Hiller is offering 0 interest for 60 months on select new HVAC systems, 0 interest for 12 months on new tankless water heaters, and 0 interest for 12 months on new whole home generators. If you know you need a new system for your home, do it this month. These financing offers are available for a limited time only. You stay comfortable and cool all summer and handle the payments later. Visit happyhiller.com for all the details. As always, Happy will be here. The service is free. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
When you want to rock.
Let's go, don't wait. This night's almost over. Do all the monsters come out at night? Why do we sleep when we want to hide?
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC here.
Starting company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
.102.5, 106.3 The Game, and 102.9 The Buzz, and the Nashville Predators will host a 615-day celebration coming up at Fordyce Center in Antioch on Wednesday, June 15th, and will benefit Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. This event will feature fun for the whole family while paying tribute to Nashville's annual 615 Day, an occasion that pairs Music City's area code with the date of June 15th. For more details and to bid on silent auction items, you can visit thegamenashville.com/615 Day. Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We'll be joined by Emily Proud from News 2 coming up at 9 o'clock. We had her thoughts on the Titans, some assistant coaches about to speak, so looking forward to that coming up from Emily at 9 o'clock. Adam Vinkin at 9:30 as well.
Conveniently kept those assistant coaches from talking to me. I see what you're doing, Titans.
Nick Westbrook-Akina and Nicholas Petit-Frere said at all costs, keep the assistant coaches away from Joe Rexroad.
NWI is like, can I talk around like 7, 8 a.m.? my immediate availabilities? Anytime before 10 a.m.
I will
that
show
be okay?
up very early to make sure that this is done before 10 o'clock. Good stuff. We are almost there to minicamp here with the Tennessee Titans. OTAs, I guess the last media viewing period of OTAs is today, and then minicamp right around the corner. What are the top storylines with the Titans right now that have drawn the most interest from Joe Rexroad?
Well, this is another example of me not being creative enough, but, I mean, Traylon Burks is the first thing I think of. Traylon Burks last week talked for the first time since it all began, so we went backward with him and talked about what was going on, and he didn't answer. But, again, that sort of overshadowed the fact that things are getting better, apparently better, more participation and making some plays. So does that continue? If it's just, again, I'm basically bought in. It was just guy out of shape. He just randomly has an inhaler lying around. But, trying to get in better shape. Is that happening? Is that all this is? Is he progressing? Certainly, the offensive line is even though it's not prime offensive line time in terms of evaluation, it's still really interesting to me who's playing where and how do they look moving around, things like that. Again, Dylan Radins, if you're going to be the right tackle for this team, you got to be a physical run blocker. So those are things that you're not going to know, that you're going to have to find out more in camp. But still, where is he playing? Is he more at right tackle? And, some of these things we aren't supposed to say. We have Beauclair on to tell us where everybody was playing. Beauclair's above the law, man. DBs, another thing to watch for me, certainly. How's McCreary coming along? Theo Jackson still progressing. I thought Theo Jackson, TD talked about this, and yeah, he got torched pretty good by Austin Hooper on a particular play, where he just gave up the outside leverage, and Hooper looks good. He's probably been
that's a consistent theme of Austin Hooper looking pretty good.
Yeah, like the first day, I was like, oh yeah, okay. So that's what a big, fast number one tight end looks like. Because they didn't have one last year. So not saying, like, if you want to talk about whoa factor, there's a lot more with, say, a Jonnu Smith in games and in practices. But Austin Hooper, he fits the bill. So, again, don't know exactly what all went down. There's a lot of things going on with Cleveland. Still a lot of things going on with Cleveland. It's going well up there.
Yeah, really nicely.
For the Browns. Really looking good right now, that guaranteed deal. But But I think Austin Hooper is going to be a key part of this offense.
Let's go to the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Heidi from Dixon texting in says, I predict 2 years of Woods replacing AJ's production and 2 years of Burks replacing Julio and Davis's production, and then they swap roles finally. So a little bit of a slow build from Treylon Burks, according to Heidi from Dixon.
Okay. Well, there's a big difference between Julio and Davis production, first of all.
There is.
Julio production last year and Davis is last year. But see, so production is ultimately what matters, right? But the one thing that neither of them, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know with Treylon Burks. He could be a superstar. Like, I don't know that he won't be, but I think the thing that you really worry about replacing with A.J. Brown isn't just production, but it's also what you do to a defense. A.J. Brown affected a defense, manipulated a defense because he was that level of weapon. So are either of these guys? I'm comfortable in saying Robert Woods is a really good player, and it's a really nice pickup. I like it a lot. Things look good with the ACL. I don't think Robert Woods has ever really scared anybody. He's a good player. He's going to produce. A.J. Brown scares people.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It's more intangible than tangible, but I mean, if you watch the Titans the last few years, it meant something. He got extra attention plenty because of that. When they were also trying to deal with how do they tackle Derrick Henry, So that's my question: is who scares the defense on the outside?
Well, that's the theme. Like we talked about yesterday, the speed threat at wide receiver is not really there. Like that's why I think the idea of Will Fuller is so intriguing to Titans fans because he does have speed. Now, at some point he's probably going to get hurt and he's not going to be available for you, but he does have the speed threat. I will say, like the Titans' plan in terms of the players that they like to go after, to me at this point on the offensive side of the ball is pretty clear. Like they want to be very difficult to tackle. Derrick Henry's very difficult to tackle. A.J. Brown was very difficult to tackle. Jonnu Smith. You can put Austin Hooper in that category.
Mason Kinsey,
very difficult to tackle. You can't catch up to that guy. But like Treylon Burks, watching him in college.
That was a joke, everybody.
It's hard to bring that guy down.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly. I mean, well, when they had it, so end of 19, that's when it really kind of became a thing. That was Brown's rookie season, and he was really starting to come along. And Jonnu Smith was really starting to come along in 19, which was his third season, and obviously Derrick Henry. So once that offense flipped that year, I remember that's the first time that who has three guys who are more of a problem to tackle than those three: Brown, Smith, Henry. Now only one of them remains, but Burks, same idea. I mean, Hooper is. I mean, yeah, that's what you want with a tight end. I mean, you got to have somebody who can be, can win at the point of attack and be an inline block, all that stuff. So So that's more. I mean, Jonnu was more like when he got going with the speed. Oh my gosh!
When he get ahead of steam, it was scary.
Yeah, but I agree. That's clearly a thing that they believe in. It makes sense, physicality. But it's like if you can, with AJ, you had the speed factor enough too, to really be a problem. I mean, I still think back to they don't beat the 49ers if he doesn't dominate that game, and then the outcome of last season is different. Not that it worked out in the playoffs, but they don't get the 1 seed. I still feel like there's a speed. It's look, they're still getting Kyle Phillips, right? They still do have. I mean, I joked about Mason Kinsey, but they've had Cam Batson and Chester Rogers. Like, you still have different kinds of players in your offense. The one different kind they don't have to me is just the guy who can run past everybody.
Well, and I'm interested. We went into last season talking about the defenses. Like, how are they going to defend this Titans offense with AJ and Julio and everything they have? Like, to me, it's pretty clear. Like, when Derrick Henry is back and he's the running back there, I mean, there are going to be a lot of 8-man boxes. There are going to be a lot of people in the box with Derrick Henry. And if you're the Titans, if you're Todd Downing, you got to be able to make them pay for that. And you need your wide receivers and your tight ends to be able to win and get open in the passing game. So I'm sure we'll see whether or not they can do that. But to me, we talk so much about Derrick Henry having a bounce-back year, and we'll see whether or not he can do that. Team's going to be focusing in on Derrick Henry from the start. I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah. No, and you just gotta have that balance. You gotta have balance, and you gotta have enough guys on the outside who can win. Win against press coverage and just make plays on a consistent basis. Sean Mack from Dixon says, guys, it's not much to replace Julio's production. Heck, Heidi from Dixon could replace him, which is, that's fine. That's a fine joke, Sean. But my question here is, do you know Heidi?
Both from Dixon.
Or is this Heidi? I mean, this could be so many things. If you know Heidi and have actually spotted Heidi in person, please respond. Please let us know. And Corey texted me, said he also has excellent verticality, superior ability to high point the football.
Oh, yeah.
Outstanding. Yes. Those are excellent draft nerd terms, Corey.
We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get back into a discussion we had earlier about Dylan Radins and Caleb Farley. Who is more likely to have a bigger impact on the Titans this season? We'll get to that next. This is Robbie and Rexroad here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Superspeedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Hot and humid today with highs in the upper 80s and heat index values in the lower 90s. Scattered showers and thunderstorms return this afternoon and evening.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Parman is now hiring and seeking qualified candidates for construction equipment truck drivers, service technicians, and more. Apply at parmantractor.com or call 615-865-7800. Come be an employee owner with the Parman team, your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer.
Hey, Willie Daunic here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Zines First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
When Smashville wants to rock. We are Nashville's rock station. 1029 The Buzz.
Thanks, everyone, for baking your way here on this toasty morning. Are you all ready to jam? Excellent. Before we get rolling, let's start by hashing out everything bagel we'll be discussing. Profit margins are okay, but they could maybe be butter. Sorry, I don't mean to waffle. Next quarter, it's all or muffin. Did you have a question, Sausage Patty?
My name's Patricia.
When you can't take your mind off breakfast, it matters where you stay. Delicious breakfast available at our Hilton family of brands. Hilton, for the stay.
Darren McFarland.
I feel like we're a better playoff team.
Willie Daunic.
You're in a window of a division you can win.
Chase McCabe.
I'm not signing him for more than $1 million.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
On ESPN.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Catch the NBA Finals on 1025, 1063 The Game as the Boston Celtics host the Golden State Warriors coming up in Game 3. Tip off at 8 o'clock tomorrow night in Game 3. NBA Finals coverage powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 1025, 1063 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rex Road, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll have Emily Proud coming up at 9 o'clock, Adam Vingan at 9:30 as well. Right now, taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Dennis texting in says, but how is his, quote, edge work, talking about Traylon Burks?
Ooh.
We could really get all the draft buzzwords out of the way. We really could.
I think once we get into July, we need to do a draft buzzwords Mount Rushmore. I think that'd be awesome.
I think high pointing the football maybe at the top of that.
High pointing is pretty good.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Catch radius is good though.
Well, I think high pointing is a little bit older. Like it's been around a little bit longer. The catch radius is one of those really newfangled, fancy ones. Riderly, a little bit there.
I always love the high point too, because like on the fade route, if you actually were high pointing the football, you would get it like halfway after his release point. You know, but there's that.
Like Davis Mills could probably go do
Davis
that
Mills,
with his mouth.
Yes, he could definitely
grab
high
it
point
with his mouth.
Joe, we had this discussion earlier on a riveting buy or sell that you put together with Caleb Farley and Dylan Radens. I ask you this. Which do you think has the better chance to be a more productive player for the Titans this year? When you factor in everything, the injury concerns with Caleb Farley, the positional concerns with Dylan Radens, everything involved with it, who do you think has the better opportunity to be a productive member of the Titans this season? Caleb Farley or Dylan Radens?
Yeah, see, that's another good kind of spin on the whole situation. I mean, we were talking earlier about would they get double-digit starts?
Yeah.
I think Dylan Radens, there's no restriction on him. The difference there, of course, is Dylan Radens just may not be good enough, and Caleb Farley may not be healthy enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who has a better chance? Well, they're both, I think, competing with draftees. At least there may be others in there, but I would say for Caleb Farley, although I think Buster Skrine is a good veteran to have around, I think it's probably going to be Farley or McCreary. And Farley should have an edge there. I mean, just being in the NFL for a year, even though he was hurt most of his rookie year. And I do think that Farley has the tools to be a really good corner in the NFL. We'll see if we ever get to see them put to use and if it actually comes together for him. But I think he has the talent level. Radins, I don't know if he does. I'm just talking through this without answering because I would say, if you had to say who has a better opportunity, well, I think I feel more confident in Farley than Radins.
Is this just
some of this is like the unknown? They're both unknown to an extent.
Yeah. I think I would probably lean Farley. I mean, the problem, the more concerning part, like Farley to me, my concerns with him are two things. They're injury based, and does he have enough experience playing cornerback to come in and be effective at the NFL level this early? It doesn't really have anything to do with his physical ability. Like, I think what he can do physically is pretty clear, and we saw that in college at Virginia Tech. Like, athletically, he's certainly an NFL player and certainly capable of being a good NFL cornerback. I just have concerns about his injuries, and I have concerns about, has he played the position enough to be a really good cornerback at the NFL level? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. My concerns with Dylan Radins are, I just don't know if he's good enough. Like, and to me, I understand it's neither situation is ideal, but me personally, and I know some people would disagree, I would rather have the guy where I feel good about the talent and less good about the injuries than I would. I feel okay about his availability, but I have no clue if he's any good or not. Like, I'll take my chances with Caleb Farley there and just hope that he can stay healthy. So I will give the slight edge to Caleb Farley. Although I will say, like, it's difficult for me to believe that he's going to get through an entire season healthy just based on his recent injury track record. It's very difficult for me to believe that.
Yeah, I mean, look, some guys just can't hold up in this game. I mean, it's just how, so sometimes if you just took the back injury alone, obviously that scared a lot of teams off, understandably so, I think, because back injuries are just different. Like someone said during the draft process last year, like no one ever says, yeah, I used to have a back thing, like you have a back thing. It's hard to not have a back thing. But then on top of that, you got multiple ACLs and stuff like that too. I mean, some guys some people can go through this stuff, like Bruce Matthews can play, 20 plus years in a time when it's full smash into each other in practice and camp and all that, and you're just fine. Good. I'm good.
We
like
talked
some people
about
can.
Harold Landry earlier. I mean, he's kind of the perfect example. Not only has he been available for basically every game, in a lot of situations, he's played almost every snap. I mean, some guys can handle it, some guys can't. And I'm not saying, for sure that Caleb Farley can't. It's difficult for me to feel good about that right now.
Yeah, the history gives you doubt, as it should. So, but with Radin, but I'm with you. I'd still rather have a high level talent, and I do think he is that. Than who has that concern. I'd still would take that over someone you're just like, oh man, this guy just may not be good enough. And it's still early to say that for sure about Dylan Radins. I mean, again, I think camp is going to be, like even just like the week against the Bucks. That's always probably the most illuminating training camp week for a team is when they play it, especially like a good team. On the other side, got some good D linemen. Like there's a week where even if we aren't sure by then anyway, they will have played one preseason game, so we'll have a pretty good idea. But that week will be like, okay, you'll have again, last camp, it didn't look good for him, but he was a rookie and all the time off and everything. Now, this is just an offseason that needed to be huge for him, but then what is the actual ceiling? I don't know.
Well, and I think some of this conversation that we're having with Dylan Radins is, they've been so hesitant to talk about where he's going to play and where they see him playing. I think it tells a lot of people, and really tells myself included, that they just don't know if he's very good. I mean, and that may not be the case. Like maybe they're thinking right now, yeah, Dylan Radins is going to be our right tackle, and we feel pretty good about it heading into the year. They might feel that way, but the way that they've handled it kind of signals to me that, I don't know if they're all that sure about Dylan Radins at this point.
Yeah,
and we could be totally off there, but that's the way I read it.
It's hard not to read it that way. Indy Ben says, once McCurry and Petit Frere were drafted, it basically told me they're not confident in either Farley or Radins. and you may be right.
Could be.
You may be right. But if you're a team that truly goes by your board, then both of those picks could fall into that category. Again, don't forget that when you're drafting a tackle right now, you are also, as a GM, you're thinking about Taylor Lewan. You know that the clock's ticking there. I don't know how soon it's going to hit the alarm bell, but the clock is ticking. So you need to continue to add tackles, and right now your backup corners are a pretty aging journeyman and a 7th-round pick from a couple years ago. So you need depth there too. But I'm not saying you're wrong, Indy Ben. Just saying we don't know that for sure.
We don't know it for sure, but I did think about that. Like when they drafted a corner and a tackle with your 2nd and 3rd round picks, I was like, I've been down this road before.
They have drafted other high corners and tackles. I shouldn't say other high corners and tackles. I should say other corners and tackles high in the draft.
Well, okay, so what do you think the chances are that McCreary is ready to start ahead of Farley immediately? Like, I don't really hear anybody talking about that, and maybe that's not the plan. But is there a chance in your mind that McCreary's the one that's ready to go right now, and maybe Farley isn't come training camp?
Well, McCreary's out there right now getting the full work. That means something. That means something. Maybe we'll know more in minicamp, but I'm not expecting much from Farley. You're going to be very careful with him. I mean, he tore his ACL during the season, so you're still talking about like 9 months ago, right?
Yeah.
8 months ago? 8 months ago? Right around
there.
We
require a lot of math of you on this show.
Yeah, and I sometimes fail in that regard. But this is opportunity for McCreary. You're getting all those reps, man. You're getting all those reps. And that's what's interesting, too, is because Kaharski on here was speculating that he thought maybe he could be pushing Molden inside. Maybe that's where he's better. But do you feel comfortable if you're the Titans just having Fulton, Farley, and then like screen as your outside crew? I don't know. It seems to me like McCreary should get a chance to compete there on the outside.
I would think so as well. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Emily Proud from News 2. We'll get her thoughts on the Titans as minicamp just around the corner from the Two-Tone Blue. That's next. This is Robbie and Rexroad here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game. We talk the game.
You can't just pick up one guy and be competitive in the playoffs.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
The regional run is done. This is the Commodore Report. I'm Kevin Ingram. Vanderbilt's baseball season comes to a close as the Commodores fall to number 3 national seed Oregon State 7-6 in the championship game of the NCAA Corvallis Regional. In a back-and-forth contest, the Beavers scored 4 runs in the 5th and took the lead for good on a 7th-inning solo home run by Matthew Gretler as the bottom third of the OSU batting order combined to score 3 runs and drive in 4. The host team homered 3 times in the day. Another big game and a terrific regional for Vandy right fielder Spencer Jones. Hit a 2-run blast to give the Doors the lead in the 4th. Enrique Bradfield had a hit and a walk, drove in a run and scored 1, and stole 2 bases to finish the season a perfect 46 out of 46. Vanderbilt had tied the game in the 7th on a sac fly by Calvin Hewitt, but that turned out to be the final run of the season as the Beavers went to all Pac-12 left-hander Connor Jerby for the 2-inning save. 5 of the 6 outs were recorded on strikeouts. The Vandy boys finish up 2022 with a 39-23 record and see their streak of super regional appearances end at 4. But overall, a nice run here in Corvallis as the Commodores won 3 straight elimination games to force that deciding Game 7. That is the Commodore Report on 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Upgrade your diamond studs this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes, you can do it now at Genesis Diamonds. It's our best financing of the year. Not just on diamond studs, but rings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So those 2-carat studs, just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry also included in this spectacular offer. Only available until June 18th and only at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Brought broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun.
On your morning drive. This is Robbie and Rexroad. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Welcome back in. Final hour of Robbie and Rexroad here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad, Michelle Knezvik here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Emily Proud from News 2. Emily, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you doing?
We are great. Appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. I know Titans assistant coaches just wrapping up their media availability. Anything in particular stand out from the Titans assistant coaches this morning?
Well, guys, we have some news. Rob Moore, the wide receivers coach, talked about his new rookie receiver, Traylon Burks, and about his development. And he said that, unfortunately, he got off to a slow start, but it was out of his control because he was dealing with asthma. So we got that from the wide receivers coach this morning.
This whole thing is incredible.
So the whole time it's been asthma. It's pretty amazing. Well, that would explain the inhaler, I would suppose.
It would, and I think that's something that we could make a safe assumption, but as responsible journalists, we didn't want to go there yet, but it's good to hear it from a guy that deals with him very consistently in the meeting rooms, out here on the practice field. So for Rob Moore to say that, it was an aha moment a little bit. And I did, follow up and ask if this was something that Mike Vrabel mentioned, which was that, rookies don't quite know what it takes to be in the NFL yet, and they think that they're working out hard, but the level is just different. So I asked him, do you think he understands the expectations and what it takes to be a pro? And he was like, absolutely. He knows what it takes. It was just kind of an unfortunate thing, the way that he started off, and he kept saying it was something that was out of his control, something like asthma, as he said. So it makes a lot of sense, and it's something I think we kind of assumed, but again, didn't want to assume until we had some cold, hard facts. And so there you go. There was some actual news that came out of this morning.
And I don't understand why Traylon Burks doesn't just tell us that a week ago then, I mean, you're waiting for Rob Moore to say it a week later, but okay. Well, it's very interesting. So my next question, Emily, and I'm not expecting you to have this answer right now, but it's just the first thing that pops in my head is, did the Titans then know that Traylon Burks had asthma, right? I mean, that's an interesting question at this point.
Yes, and I think, the fact that we get to talk to Mike Vrabel at the end of practice today, this is something that I'm sure he's psyched about, which he brought up again. And so we'll definitely ask and see if we can get any sort of follow-up. Something tells me that we're not going to learn anything more. I don't know why he would all of a sudden now decide to give us more information. But, I don't know if this is something that they knew necessarily going in. And, guys, I'm going to be real. As a former athlete and somebody that had played with multiple people that dealt with asthma in a sport like soccer where all you do is run, although it's something that you got to get over and something that's difficult to push through, it's not something that hinders you from being able to play your sport. That's why they have things like inhalers and different medicines that you're able to take and breathing exercises and all sorts of things. It's not like a broken leg. It's something that you can definitely deal with. So I don't think it would have necessarily been some sort of red flag in the draft process where they say, we're not going to draft this guy because he's got asthma. It's something a lot of athletes deal with. And it's exacerbated by these, beautiful trees and grasses and bushes and stuff that we have here in Tennessee by the allergies. So it's annoying, but it's not going to hinder him from being able to play. As evident in his years at Arkansas, he seemed to do all right.
Yeah, it's good perspective.
Yep, Emily Proud on with us here on Robbie and Rex. So Emily, we were batting this around earlier in the show. Other than the Traylon Burks situation, which now has a new development to it, what is the most intriguing storyline for you as the Titans head into minicamp right around the corner here?
Well, it's easy, and it helps that he's wearing a bright red shirt and everyone else is wearing white and blue. But, of course, it's got to be Malik Willis and his development. And I think early on in camp it was fun to see his interactions with Ryan Tannehill, especially coming off the whole mentorship gate and all of that. But seeing them all work together, I thought is something that was fun to watch in the beginning. But now I'm really keyed in on what Malik Willis is doing, because we've gotten perspective from him after each day and what he's learning. We've gotten perspective, of course, from Mike Vrabel and how he's seen him develop from Ryan Tannehill. But today it was interesting to hear from his quarterback's coach and Pat O'Hara, and he just loves the guy. He's super psyched about working with him. I think that was the biggest thing that I gleaned from our conversation, is just how willing he is to not just learn from his coaches, but learn from Ryan Tannehill, learn from Logan Woodside. O'Hara continually said, we have such a great room. These guys work so well together. Logan's doing a good job of helping out Malik Willis, and obviously Ryan Tannehill is doing a good job of helping him out as well. But it's more from the Malik Willis side of things, is that he's a willing sponge and learning so much every single day. And you could tell that Pat O'Hara was excited about getting to work with a rookie, because it's been a while. And a lot of it is kind of from the ground up, and that you're starting from the beginning with him. He's got those intangibles that you just can't teach. But coming from Liberty, there's definitely a lot he's got to learn as he, transitions into the NFL. But you could tell that O'Hara was very excited about working with Malik Willis in particular, just because he's a willing student.
Get that horn. So I assume they're hitting the field right now, right? Yeah.
They are, yes. I'm watching them do some warm-ups, and now they're going to start stretching, and all the media contingent is getting ready to take some really great videos of grown men stretching. It's fun stuff, guys.
Too bad you guys don't have Orson Welles Road out there right now,
right.
Taking some real videos. Anything else, Emily, on the assistant front? Do we have a position chosen for Dylan Radins yet, by chance? Anything else that really perked your ears up?
Yeah, I mean, Keith Carter said he's been working a lot at right tackle, so that was definitely something. But I asked him what he's learning about him without pads, and it's, clearly more of the cerebral part of things, is understanding his assignments and understanding, what he's being asked to do on the offensive line. But he did specifically say he has been working a lot at the right tackle position. So I'll take him at his word. He's a guy that deals with them every single day and is moving these guys around quite a bit. His ears perked up when I asked about Nicholas Petit-Frere, too. Obviously, anytime you talk to this kid, you can see why you want to spend as much time around him as possible. And he's also one of those guys that's just a total sponge and is learning so much, especially from a guy like Taylor Lewan. And so when it comes to Dylan Radins, though, I'll say it one more time. He's taking a lot of reps at right tackle, so I'm holding on to that.
That's right. Emily Proud from News 2 on with us here on Robbie and Rex Road. Emily, what's the intrigue level that you have just to see how Caleb Farley comes along, whether it be in minicamp, training camp, whenever the reps increase for him, and to see where he has? Because to me, when you start looking at the defensive side of the ball, his may be as big of a question mark as anybody in terms of what exactly he's going to be and what that could mean for this Titans defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hate to just have this be the default answer, but he's got to be out there for us to know what they've got in him, what he can potentially be. And I think that we saw some little glimpses of it before he tore his ACL last season. But before then, it looked like he was really coming along. He's another one of those guys that's a willing participant and somebody that wants to learn and has a lot to learn from the guys around him. But it is kind of an interesting dynamic in the secondary in particular, because there's just so much youth there. And so it's not like he's learning specifically from a 10-year veteran or a guy that's been doing it for so long. So he's learning himself as well. And I think all of those guys are kind of working together. But we did talk to Anthony Midget about him, and he said that it's so great that he's out here right now. And he's wearing the yellow jersey, which is limited contact or no contact, just to be safe. But Midget did make a point of saying that it's important for him to be out here, whether it's getting the reps himself, but also just being around the team and being around the secondary and learning from that standpoint. But, yeah, I think it's a huge thing. But I don't know if I'm going to put the Titans season as hanging in the balance with him, just because there's so many options now in the secondary for him to, if he can't go, if there's injury trouble that he deals with, you've got Roger McCreary that could potentially step in. And I think that's been kind of the fun thing to see, is there's not as much pressure on Caleb Farley this year, I think, as there maybe was last year.
That's a good point. So, Emily, are you straight in from Oklahoma City right now then? Did you just get back?
No, I flew back Saturday morning.
Okay.
My flight was at 5 a.m., and then I did our newscast this weekend. So I had to work Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, that's right. This is the life of an anchor. That is right. That is anchor. Hashtag anchor life. So tell me what was the Women's College World Series like, and also Texas' first unseeded team to make the final. I mean, I know Oklahoma just looks like an absolute machine, but what do you see there?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a cool experience. First off, I mean that event is just first class. The fans, I think, are really what make it special. It's just there's so many people there that have been going for decades and decades. And I was there to cover Florida for the SEC network, and we were expecting to see a few more SEC teams there, but there were a lot of upsets that happened in those supers, and so it ended up just being Florida. But you mentioned Texas and Oklahoma. That was kind of the mindset is, well, you know, we're welcoming these guys in a few years, so we'll take claim to their success right now. But, I mean, ever since I saw Texas in the supers take down Arkansas, which was a top 5 team, I think they were 4th nationally, in Arkansas, you knew that this team was special. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder, too, which I know is the most cliche to ever say. But it works, and it's something, if it fires them up, then it clearly is something that they've been telling each other, too. Their whole saying is, why not us, why not us? And so they've been incredibly interesting. But, yeah, they're going to run into Oklahoma, and Patty Gasso and her squad just cannot be beat. But it's exciting to see this game, the game of softball develop into something where there is a lot of parity, and it's not just the dominant teams. Yes, you did see a team like UCLA who's been there 20-plus times, and obviously Oklahoma going back-to-back, but the other participants are some newbies there, too. I mean, Northwestern, it's been a while since they've been there as well, and so it's fun to see parity in that sport. And I don't know if anyone's going to, dethrone Oklahoma in the interim, but there's definitely a lot of willing teams that could make life difficult on them.
Yeah, Oklahoma looks like an absolute buzzsaw right now. Emily, appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. Have fun out there at Titans practice, and we appreciate you being with us this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I hope it didn't sound like I was in a club too much here at practice.
No, that was all good.
Very loud.
No Vrabel F-bombs that came through, too, so that's a win.
That is good.
Thanks,
that is good. I made a point of staying as far away from him as possible. Gotta keep it FCC.
We appreciate that. Emily Proud, our guest here on Robbie and Rex Show, does an outstanding job for News 2 and outstanding job covering the Titans and all things Middle Tennessee sports as well. How about that? Traylon Burks apparently dealing with asthma, according to Rob Moore.
Well, see, so, yeah. This did not have to be some huge thing. It just really didn't. But, I mean, Emily makes a good point there, because I asked the question, did the Titans know? And, I mean, she makes a good point. Like, there's plenty of people who have it.
Sure.
Yeah, there are high-level athletes who have asthma. I mean, this is something to keep in mind here. Also, something to keep in mind, like, it's okay to just say, yeah, I got asthma. Thank you. Move forward. Here's the thing. I'm sure that there is still a conditioning aspect here.
Well,
needing to get in better shape aspect here. So we shouldn't lose that in the asthma thing. Like, it's probably the hard thing for people, the both things being true. So if you're on the side of, soft media, making excuses, okay, well, nope. And also, though, if you're on the side now of like, see, he had asthma. No, he's in perfect shape. Probably not true either.
Yeah, that's probably a classic case of both things being true. We'll continue the discussion on Traylon Burks and the Titans coming up next. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. You can go yard all June long with $5 Dinger Tuesdays on FanDuel Sportsbook. This season, all customers will get $5 for every home run hit by both teams when you place a $25 to hit a home run wager on Tuesday MLB games. And the best part about Dinger Tuesdays is even if your bet loses, FanDuel will pay you $5 for every single home run. So maybe like Aaron Judge of the Yankees. I like Mookie Betts, Nashville guy. He's having a good season, hitting the ball so far with the Dodgers. But you take it any way you want to take it. What are you waiting on? Just pick your home run hitter and turn big swings into big wins. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. So head on over to your FanDuel account or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up using promo code ROB. Once again, that promo code is Rob. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit. It expires in 7 days. A max bonus of $25. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The city famous for its music is about to be overwhelmed by the Symphony of Speed. June 24th through 26th, Nashville Super Speedway will host an exciting weekend of NASCAR racing and entertainment featuring the Ally 400 Cup Series race, the Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200. Tickets are going fast, so visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com or call 866-RACE-TIX and brace yourself for some full-throttle fun.
If you missed the latest from Darren, Daunic, and Chase,
look, I might find my future wife there. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. There you go.
Look,
everything is at Buc-ee's except a bar.
They may have a back room at Buc-ee's that you can do speed. No,
I don't know about that.
Let me finish.
When we say they have everything, we meant they have everything.
Let me finish. Speed dating. Speed dating, Chase.
Oh, my God.
Where you can do a 10-minute interview, okay?
Okay. Interview.
Oh, my goodness. Interview.
So the announcement at 5 o'clock is I've been relieved of my duty.
Oh, my goodness.
tune in Darren, Daunic, and Chase weekdays 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Electronic Express Father's Day sale is here. Huge deals on Father's Day gifts from brands like Traeger grills, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Outdoor living, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make Father's Day happen.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Darren McFarland.
A lot of dots to connect there, a lot of storylines.
Willie Daunic.
Be careful what you wish for.
And Chase McCabe.
Yes, because it's my favorite.
Get through your workday with Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Weekdays 10 to 2.
Great three-man band live. Fired up.
Let's go.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I think they would love to see that.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
When you see that, click on it.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Traylon's worked hard, comes in a lot of different ways, man. Traylon's worked hard, comes in early in the morning, board work, walkthroughs, everything you could think of, mobile client. We do it's a lot of different things to try and shorten the learning curve and get him caught up to speed.
A lot of focus on the negative with him, it's just the problems he had starting off. But what are some of the positives that you've been able to gather?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Some of those things that happen kind of out of his control. Just the kid, he's got asthma. Those things happen. But in regards to, he understands what the expectations are, but I think at the end of the day, it's just really him getting himself immersed in the culture of how we do things here, how we play here, which is different from every player that comes in here from college, because we ask these guys to do things that a lot of teams don't ask them to do.
So there are some things that you've liked, that you've seen from him.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited about Traylon and what he's going to be able to bring to this football team. He just has to get himself healthy and be able to show everybody out here on the field, what he's capable of.
That was Titans wide receivers coach Rob Moore, along with apparently a cannon shot somewhere in the background.
It's interesting. Vrabel's out just shooting the cannon out there.
Oh, man. So Rob Moore saying that Traylon Burks has asthma. What do you make of all this? Traylon Burks apparently dealing with asthma. I mean, we've talked about the inhaler. We've talked about the reports from Albert Breer of basically him being out of shape, not being able to make it through the pre-draft workouts, and teams being concerned about that. When you factor in everything, now that Rob Moore has talked about the asthma, what is your reaction to this story from the Titans, Joe Rexrode?
I don't understand why this had to be so difficult. I don't understand why this had to be so difficult. But again, I'll go back to what I said before the last break, which is I'm still thinking there's probably some, need to get in better shape, need to get up to speed with the NFL situation. But he probably should get a little more grace on that if he has asthma. Now, here's my question, and I don't have any idea about this. How limiting is asthma for someone to be an elite athlete? Emily just said, she had teammates. Emily played soccer at Belmont. She had teammates who had that. You have the inhaler, you deal with it, you move on. Is it limiting? Is it limiting at all? I mean, I really don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, and it brings me back to the Albert Breer stuff of the workouts, like the workouts pre-draft and how that lines up with what we saw in rookie minicamp from Traylon Burks as well. Like, how much of that is asthma related and how much of that is he wasn't in good shape? Like, I think there's probably some of both.
Does asthma make it harder to be in shape?
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, then it's not like a huge red flag, but I mean, if it's something that is going to keep you from, for example, I'm trying to imagine someone with asthma doing stuff Derrick Henry does. I don't know. But, this
could have been
this is a month
pretty quickly.
Yeah, this is just a month of, and I go back to the first day, and I do await Paul Kaharski's apology because he was wrong. Just dismiss the inhaler, but also to take the Vrabel presser, and Glenn and I argued against him. He's like, well, Vrabel ended it. I'm like, well, I don't think he ended it. I think he kind of, sneered at the allergies thing, but that didn't necessarily end anything for me. Vrabel doesn't get into this stuff.
He does not. Kenneth on the text line says, I feel as if Moore is just saying that to kill the story about him being out of shape. This coming from Kenneth on the text line.
So you think a coach is just coming out and saying, I'm going to talk about a player's fake made-up medical condition, folks. He has asthma. Just kidding. Come on, Kenneth. You know how stupid that would be?
I don't think he's lying about it.
You're not going to come out and lie about a player and say directly he has asthma.
Now, does that mean that he's not out of shape?
No.
It doesn't mean that. But
I'm not
Rob
saying
Moore is
that.
definitely not saying he's got asthma if he doesn't have asthma.
Yeah, he's got scurvy, Let's just start making up medical conditions for people.
Gout, Joe?
Well, people make fun of my gout. I'll tell you directly, I have gout. Okay? Thanks for bringing up a painful thing about my life, Michelle.
Sorry, Joe.
Why does it have to be about me and my gout?
It always circles back to you and the gout.
Comes back to the gout.
I don't know, if this is all this has been and he's just had asthma the whole time, part of me kind of wonders, how much, does Vrabel enjoy this? Having fun. Because this would have been so simple, just be like, hey, he's got asthma. Working through it. Trying to get in shape and dealing with that. Figuring out what works best for Traylon. There you go.
But again, I just, so last week, let's review. Traylon Burks talked.
Yeah.
Someone initially asked him about it, and he's like, you have to ask Coach Vrabel. The last question of the gathering, I was like, look, I understand you don't want to get into specifics, but is it fair to say you're dealing with something else, something other than just conditioning? He again referred to Vrabel. I know, so.
What's the harm in just being like, yeah?
Well, so at that point, so Kaharski, and this is where Kaharski and I started screaming at each other, mostly me yelling at him. He's like, okay, I've already talked to someone, he's just out of shape. Okay. Have you written that? And then I'm like, so what you're saying is that Traylon Burks right now, by leaving it open, by not just saying, no, I'm fine, I have nothing. By leaving it open, he's being deceitful. That's what I said. I'm like, you are saying that Traylon Burks is being deceitful. Because, if you had nothing else but you're just out of shape and you answered it that way, to me, you're kind of saying there is something. I just don't want to talk about it. Well, Rob Moore just said there is something. So it isn't just him being in shape. Again, is it also him being out of shape? I'm sure this is not purely just like asthma. And again, I'll tell you this too. Honestly, it's still better outcome for the Titans if it is at least half that he's in shape. Because if this is just purely like asthma is keeping him from doing things on the football field, what does that mean in September Sunday when they need him to play 50 snaps?
Yeah.
So, but all of it's really something else over something that really isn't, I don't think, a big deal.
No. But it got made one. I don't know. This is just it's an interesting development here, but it goes back to you, the sleuth, the inhaler. You deserve credit.
Well, no. First of all, I want to give credit. So I think that day I was standing next to Kayla Anderson on my left. And I think Kayla is the one who first noticed that. Okay. Now, he was right behind her. So she was like, oh, he's using an inhaler. So I think I think that credit goes to Kayla Anderson.
Friend of the show?
Yeah. Me, I was focused on, okay, now when I frame this shot, can I do a little diagonal angle here? Some close-ups. When you're as good as I am at videoing things, you have to put time into it, like our pre-show meetings.
Yes, multiple-hour pre-show meetings. Well, I mean, if you're a Titans fan, does this make you feel better that Rob Moore has come out and said that Treylon Burks has asthma?
Good question.
I don't know. I think some would say yeah, some would say no. Again, I need to probably do some more research on how debilitating. I know some friends that have asthma, but none of those friends
are any of them elite world-class athletes.
Yeah, sorry, no disrespect to those guys. They're not good on the softball field, but they're not good at the being an elite football player. So
yeah.
Couldn't tell you how that affects an NFL player.
I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fine, and he has to get in better shape, and he can get in better shape despite the asthma.
Yeah.
And all that. But now we know that there is something beyond just he had too many honey buns.
Which those are really good. Couldn't blame
him. And I'm not saying he did, but maybe he ate too much of the hogs he was hunting with his hands. It's more than that.
Coming up next, we'll be joined by Adam Vingan from The Athletic. We'll get his thoughts on the Preds and some offseason moves that could be made coming up for David Poile and company. That's next. This is Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Harness LLC needs 5 foremen to join our team. Go to selectharness.com now if you're a foreman with 3 years experience in excavation. Invest in a company who's going to invest in you. Selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Happy Tail Wagging Tuesday, Sounds fans. Bring your dog to the Nashville Sounds game tonight at First Horizon Park as the team takes on the AAA Baltimore Orioles, the Norfolk Tides. Proceeds from each dog ticket sold will benefit Nashville Humane. For more info and tickets, visit NashvilleSounds.com.
The Ainsworth Nashville has been bringing a sophisticated twist to the classic all-American sports bar, restaurant, and private event experience in Midtown since 2018. Our multi-purpose venue consists of a full-scale restaurant, bar and lounge, and event space. Come for the wings, stay for our happy hour, and visit us for brunch on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We've got the good times to keep you singing all night long. The Ainsworth Nashville. Burgers, cocktails, sports.
Visit the Ainsworth at 206 21st Avenue South in Nashville or online at theainsworth.com.
If you missed the latest from Robbie and Rex Road.
But typically when someone says, Schefter reported this, okay, I'm reading it off the text line. Let's go find the tweet. Okay, no, that's not there. Yeah, then the guy texted. I don't know if it was the next segment or it was 10 seconds later. Regardless, again, we're taking in something. We're saying, here's who it's from. Someone on the text line. Okay, so you could go about it and read it and say, oh, I'm not going to say that out loud. I'm going to check on it, and then I'm just never going to say it out loud. That'd probably be better. But you're actually comparing that to this that you didn't even listen to when you started just running your mouth. Shut up with this crap, Jared. I mean, come on, man.
He does this way too much.
I mean, this is so bad. And thank you, Caroline. I mean, Caroline, trying to talk some sense into him. This guy, you can say media high horse or whatever. First of all, I think the bigger criticism people make is that media don't go after each other, right?
Yeah.
That's what I hear. You guys always want to protect each other. And
it's not the media high horse, it's the writer.
Well, that's right. Yeah. The writer high horse. Dude, I don't care what part of media you're in. This guy didn't say, I heard from someone I saw on Twitter. He said as fact that a kid tested positive for PEDs and that the whole team is about to be tested for PEDs. He said it on there like, gosh, that's going to be awfully interesting for the Vols. I mean, do we have that? Do we want to play? Did you ever listen to it, Jared? No, then he listened. No. He listened to it. He's like, oh, yeah, no big deal. Is that right? Dude, come on. Like, you're making yourself look ridiculous.
Tune in Robbie and Rex with Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on ESPN, 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Robbie and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stomach Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game, Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, it's Max Kellerman, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our good friend Adam Vengen from The Athletic. Adam, what's going on? How we doing?
I'm good. Is Jared versus Joe this week going to be a lesson in journalism ethics? Because I'm all about journalism ethics.
I'm excited for this. Joe, what do you think?
Well, Caroline dictates what it's going to be about, so I have no idea what she'll ask. But if she would like to lob something up for me to smash out of the park, it wouldn't be all that bad.
I'm on your side on this one, Joe.
Well, thank you, but Adam, I'm waiting. I'm looking at the text line, Twitter. I'm gonna bring this to everybody know. I'm waiting for one person who isn't completely against Jared on this. It's such a terrible take.
Beautiful stuff. Adam, thanks for joining us this morning. So here we sit today on June the 7th, Adam. Still no resolution to the Philip Forsberg contract situation. We're just a little bit over a month away at this point from free agency beginning in the NHL. How concerned would you be right now if you're a Predators fan that Forsberg still has not signed a contract?
At this point, I guess you can't stop Predators fans from being concerned, but I would personally not be concerned unless or until July 1st. If the rest of this month, if this month ends with Philip Forsberg not under contract and free agency less than 2 weeks away, I would probably start to feel a bit nervous. Pierre LeBrun had a column on The Athletic today where he touched on some of the pending UFAs, including Philip Forsberg, and he said, quote, "My sense is there remains a gap in which each side is willing to go at the moment, but it's early June and free agency opens July 13th. There's still lots of time before each side truly presents its final stance." And Pierre wrote something interesting. He was talking about J.P. Barry, Forsberg's agent, who is a tough negotiator. And he said, is this gap simply about, I'm quoting him here, is this simply about Barry pushing the Predators as far as possible and then Forsberg definitely taking that deal? Or is there a threshold set by the agent that the player is willing to stick to and that would send them to the market if the team doesn't move enough? And Pierre reports, that his prediction is that Forsberg will resign. That's been my stance all along. I just have a hard time imagining the Predators allowing Forsberg to leave. I think they have so much invested in him as part of this team moving forward, especially because they do not have any appetite for a full-scale rebuild. Joe, I know you asked David Poyle about this a couple of weeks ago about whether the decision about Forsberg will ultimately dictate their path. David said he had plans B, C, D, E, whatever. But for me, I have a hard time looking at this team without Forsberg and thinking that they should go in a completely different direction. So because of this team's desire to remain competitive, I have a hard time imagining at this point that Forsberg will not be in a Predators uniform next season.
So that all adds up. That all makes sense. It's going to be as the clock ticks. I'm sure it'll be more time. It'll get close. People will get increasingly, worried, I suppose. But what do you think right now? Well, let me ask you this. Let's say he did go, and he was out there. What do you think he would get, and from who?
I would think just because other teams can only offer him 7 years, I think that Forsberg on the open market would fetch more than $9 million a season. Evolving Hockey / Robbie Stanley's prediction model
Thank you.
Has said that if Forsberg leaves, his projected cap hit is around $9.5 million. There are teams out there that are, who are in need of a scorer. A lot of teams are in need of a scorer. But I know that we joke about this, but look at a team like the Los Angeles Kings, for example. Forget the Arvidsson thing, but look at the Los Angeles Kings. They're ahead of schedule. They've got cup-winning veterans in Anze Kopitar and Drew Doughty. Dustin Brown just retired, but they have a lot of young, up-and-coming players. I think we were all a bit surprised to see the Kings not only make the playoffs, but to push the Edmonton Oilers to 7 games. And they actually had a 3-2 lead in that series. So, the Kings appear ready to compete. And if you're Los Angeles, why not throw money at Philip Forsberg and put him on one of your top 2 lines? That to me on paper makes a lot of sense. I think if Forsberg were to get to the open market, I think the only forward, at least off the top of my head, that is probably ahead of Forsberg on the pecking order is Johnny Gaudreau. Evgeny Malkin is out there, of course, but I have a hard time imagining him not re-signing with the Penguins.
Yeah.
But he's older. He's in his mid-30s. So, the one thing that's interesting to me, and this is maybe a conversation about if Forsberg doesn't come back, is that the Predators have never been big spenders in free agency. I looked this up. If you exclude extensions, Matt Duchene's contract that he signed 3 years ago is the largest contract the Predators have ever given to someone in free agency. They do not sign guys that are not their own guys to huge contracts. So I've seen a lot of people say, well, if Forsberg leaves, the Predators should throw a lot of money at Johnny Gaudreau. Well, Johnny Gaudreau is going to make more money than Philip Forsberg. And the Predators have never been a team to spend a lot of money. Now, if they lose Forsberg, they might have to do something drastic. But I just have a hard time imagining them, being big spenders in free agency because they've never been big spenders in free agency. So I think if Forsberg were to get to the open market, I think you're looking at a cap hit of at least 9, if not more.
Adam Vingan from The Athletic on with us here on Robbie and Rexroad. So, Adam, we spent a lot of time the last couple of weeks discussing your Preds fan survey at The Athletic. What were 1 or 2 things that really jumped out at you by the results of the survey this time around?
Yeah, there were 2 things that stood out to me, and I know one is something that you and Willie and Darren and Jared and Caroline spent a lot of time talking about last week. The one that I'm not referring to is the question I asked about ownership, because last year I asked if the Predators would benefit from a more visible owner who spoke directly to fans, and 60% of respondents said no. This year I asked if the Predators fans wanted to hear directly from ownership about the direction of the franchise. And when I mean directly from ownership, I'm not talking through an intermediary. I'm talking about from Chairman Herb Fritsch. 80% said yes. So it went from 60% no to 80% yes. So I think that speaks to the lack of confidence that Predators fans have in David Poyle, which was also evident in the survey. The question that I was referring to earlier was the question about whether Predators fans would be willing to would support a full-scale rebuild if it meant picking number one in the draft at least once, and more than 60% said yes. And we can talk about that and what that really means because of the lottery system that the NHL has and whatnot. But the fact that more than 60% of respondents said that they would be willing to take the chance of being bad enough to land the number one pick, and keep in mind, as we always discuss, not all number one picks are created equal. The fact that Predators fans, a large majority of them that responded to the survey, are willing to support that or willing to take that chance says something pretty stark to me. I think that, again, signals that the quote-unquote competitive rebuild, whatever that actually is, Predators fans don't see a path forward. I know that we've talked about Willie specifically being optimistic, as is his wont, about the fact that the team appears to be on track. I have been on record saying that I do not see a clear plan. I do not see a way forward for this team to be competitive anytime soon in terms of actually competing for a Stanley Cup, not making the playoffs. I think the fact that most Predators fans are willing to tear it down should be pretty eye-opening to people over there.
As is his want is a great phrase, by the way.
Thank you.
See, I'm going to argue on Willie's side a little bit, because I do think that, I think they said they were going to do. I mean, they didn't lay out point by point, but I think what they said matches up with going younger and having this team that on paper most of us, not all of us, but most of us didn't have making the playoffs, right? So, I mean, it was still. There was some overachieving relative to that, but beyond that, I mean, I think they did what they said. I mean, I think both things can be true on this too. There's a plan, but it's just your point is really that you just don't think the plan's going to work, right?
Correct. I do not see where this team is going to get significantly better. Are they younger? Yes, but look at the New York Rangers right now. Look at the players who are making a difference for the New York Rangers right now. Adam Fox, Alexis Lafreniere, Philip Hedl, Keandre Miller. Look at those players. What do they all have in common? They're under 25 years old. And I know that the Rangers had a few lean years, and they got lucky in the draft lottery a couple of times, and it helps that Adam Fox only wanted to play for the Rangers, but they have young difference makers. The Predators do not. That is my point, is that I don't like having young players is fine, but it doesn't matter. If their plan is to just get younger, then they're accomplishing that. If their plan is to get younger and better, I don't see where that comes from. Because I don't have faith, with all due respect to the young players on this team, I do not have faith that Tanner Jeannot is going to become the next Philip Forsberg, or that Cody Glass is going to become the next Ryan Johansson. I don't know. I just don't see the young players on this team making a huge difference on the success of this team for the next several years. And until this team gets a young difference maker, a 22, 23, 24-year-old player that looked like a Robert Thomas in St. Louis or a Jason Robertson in Dallas, until they get that kind of player, they're not going anywhere. I'm sorry. So yes, I think, to your point, I see the plan. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's going to work.
Adam, last thing for you here. Is anybody going to slow down Colorado? We're 12-2 in the playoffs. And if you're a Predators fan, does that make you feel any differently about the way that the series played out with Colorado, given what they've done in the aftermath?
You know what? That's always a question that we like to ask ourselves. You know, the Avalanche had their way with the Predators. You know, they got a couple of stiff games from the Blues, but put them away in 6 games, and then they just swept the Oilers. You know, does it change my perspective? No, it doesn't. I still think the gap between the Predators and the upper echelon teams in the league is chasmic, to use the word I used previously. You know, the Avalanche are a buzzsaw right now. I think we all knew that. I kind of agree with you, Robbie. Until I see a team take down the Lightning, I'm going to have a hard time picking against them, but the Avalanche, they look really good. The one thing that was evident in that series was that the Avalanche have depth and the Oilers don't. They had a one-legged Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, and Vander Kane had a great postseason until he was suspended, but the lower reaches of their depth are not anywhere near the kind of players that the Avalanche have on their lower line. So, the Avalanche, look, they deserve it. They played incredibly well. Does it change my opinion on whether the Predators maybe aren't as bad as we thought they were? No, I still think they're in a rough spot. But the Avalanche, whoever comes out of the Eastern Conference is going to have a really tough time. It might just be Colorado's time. They might have figured it out, and they've gone through the struggles and they're here. So I think they've deserved what they've gotten so far, and I'm really intrigued to see who they'll play in the Stanley Cup Final.
Rangers. Don't sleep on them. Just big.
I would have said that too until the Lightning came back to win the game the other day. The fact it looked like the Rangers were going to be coasting to a 3-0 series lead, but the fact that the Lightning were able to steal that game, don't be surprised if they tie the series in their next game. But the Lightning are battle tested, so. I think the Rangers would give the Avalanche a series too. I think the series is going to be great regardless of who the Avalanche's opponent is. But I don't know if I think the Rangers might have missed their best chance. I think they had it in Game 3. If they don't win this series, they're going to look back at that. So I'm not as I think the Rangers are great, but I think the Lightning are actually in an advantageous position, even though they're down in the series.
Adam Vigan from The Athletic, our guest here on Robbie and Rex Road. Adam, great stuff as always. Thanks for taking time to join us this morning.
All right. I look forward to my DM from Jared yelling at me for siding with Joe on the journalism ethics thing.
He's going to be DMing a lot of people, the whole world.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Ed.
We'll react to what Adam had to say. Take your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. This is Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red Weather Alert.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Hot and humid today with highs in the upper 80s and heat index values in the lower 90s. Scattered showers and thunderstorms return this afternoon and evening.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, Willie Daunic here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval. We're in the most active season of the year right now, but if you've got joint pain, you may be on the sidelines. Hips, knees, back pain, shoulder pain. It sucks the fun out of living, but I've got the solution. QC Kinetics, helping people here in our listening area get the fun back. It's regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with the healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. This is exciting. It's in the office. It's non-surgical. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. So stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics and learn more about regenerative medicine and get a free in-office consultation now. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints and get the long-lasting relief from pain.
Curation CBD is a local family-owned business started and grown right here in Middle Tennessee. Curation's mission is to provide the community with locally and organically sourced CBD products for everyday use. Curation means healing, and their CBD products will do just that. Curation CBD is a certified Tennessee product and is available at the Painted Tree in Franklin. Or visit them online and order now on their website at curationcompany.com. Use promo code DDC25 at checkout for 25% off Curation CBD. Curation, CBD products curated for life.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robbie and Rex Road
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks to Adam Vineyard for joining us in the last segment. Joe, I got the feeling that Adam is not a huge believer in the Predators' plan or direction as they move forward here. That was just my takeaway from what Adam had to say.
I think you've dug in on his words and, figured that out. Good
As
job,
I am
man.
wont to do.
Yeah. That's a great phrase. That's one that on the list of nip it in the butt phrases.
Oh yeah.
As I am wont to do, champing at the bit. I'm sure there's a lot of interesting, if people even go there with as I am wanted to do. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think Vingan kind of down on the Titans or the Preds plan. Maybe the Titans plan too.
Well, maybe both.
Maybe both.
Colin on the text line says, didn't Tanner Jeannot just lead NHL rookies in goals scored? This comes from Colin on the text line. So going back to, I believe, Vingan's comments of he doesn't believe Tanner Jeannot is like the next Philip Forsberg or anything.
Again, both of these things are, to me, accurate. I think Tanner Jeannot had a heck of a rookie season, got some skill, but I don't think he's going to be Philip Forsberg at any point in his career. He's a different player. Now,
I don't think that's that big of a stretch to say Tanner Jeannot's not going to be Philip Forsberg.
It's not.
I don't think Tanner Jeannot's going to be flirting with 40 goals anytime soon.
Right. It's
just
not,
my guess. He could.
It's not a big stretch. And the thing is, for me, Tanner Jeannot, look, he could be a top 6 forward in his career, and he may well be. But in the short term for this team, if I'm the Preds, I'd rather keep that line exactly what it is and then deal with the gaps in other ways, and keep a strength, not weaken a strength, and then strengthen a weakness. How about that for you?
That's good.
Huh? Wordplay. What is Michelle? What is that like? Michelle's just laughing at me now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Colin texting back in says, I wonder if the concern is more about not having a good, young, up-and-coming star defenseman. That's coming from Colin on the text line.
Well, there's that too.
There's both to me. Who is the forward? Philip Tomasino is the one guy I point to and say, yeah, I feel like he could be a good top 6 forward. But even Tomasino is not I don't think he's going to be a superstar or anything like that.
He should be a nice piece for them for sure.
Yeah.
Which you need a lot of those.
The thing that we don't know is guys like, the 2 draft picks they just had a year ago, and then, guys like Evangelista. What's he going to turn into? It's hard to answer that question right now because they're just not in the NHL yet. It's hard to really – we've seen guys light it up in junior hockey or light it up in the KHL and then come over here, and it's not quite the same. It's more difficult over here.
Right, and like an Evangelista, it's some time before we would find out anyway with him. So in the short term, it's to Adam's point – guys we talk about all the time. It's Fabro. It's Tolvanen. These are guys who right now should be emerging and becoming standouts for you and anchor pieces for you. And if they're not, then that's where the plan kind of falls flat.
Well, to his point about the Rangers, you look up and down that lineup right now. They got guys that are young that are really good.
The
kid line. They're really good. Now, Colorado is I mean, they have some young guys that are really, really good, but they've also had some of their core kind of grow together.
Yeah,
so there's different
they're in
ways
their prime now
to go about doing it. But, yeah, I mean, if you're going to transition into that, you got to have some – like at one point, Nathan McKinnon was the young piece, and Gabriel Landeskog was the young piece, and Rantanen, and now you've got Makar, who is still young and is still unbelievable. I mean, to Adam's point, Makar's 23 years old, and he is making his case as the best defenseman in hockey and maybe one of the best players in hockey overall.
Right. So, and those pieces you just mentioned are just higher level players than even like the core now when they were coming up. I mean, Yossi would be the
exception,
but Yossi took some time even to get where he was. Like at this point in Yossi's life, no one knew he was going to be this.
No.
Right? Makar is like a freaking unicorn.
Oh yeah. Well, the fact that he could and probably is going to get better is a scary thought.
Yeah.
About Cale Makar.
I mean, when Makar and McKinnon are both on the ice, it is like watching something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty unbelievable. We'll see if the Tampa Bay Lightning can fend off your New York Rangers tonight. I love how they're your New York Rangers now.
My Rangers and my Dubs.
Your Rangers.
My R's and my Dubs.
Your Dubs. We'll see what happens on that front. That's going to do it for us today here on Robbie and Rex Road. The DDC is coming up next. You're listening to ESPN 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom. Base hit, Sounds win.
We talk The Game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Big park, bigger fun, bigger smiles. Beach Bend Park with classic amusement rides and the famous Kentucky Rumble roller coaster, daily shows, games, mini golf, and more. Soak up some sun and take the plunge at Splash Lagoon Water Park with wave pool, lazy river, and exhilarating water slides. Big park, bigger fun at Beach Bend, where the parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. For cabana reservations, season passes, and savings on tickets, visit beachbend.com. For the whole family, Beach Bend Park.
Hey Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
E2 Roofing, Nashville's veteran-owned roofing company with integrity, along with 102.5 The Game, recognize our veterans, active military, and first responders with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof are still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh,
This is ESPN 102.5 The Game. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
NASCAR is back. Kyle Larson returns to Nashville after